Welcome back to the Night Shift, your safe space for talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI, disclosure, remote viewing, and everything else that you've been driving your family crazy with over the holiday season. We made it. We survived 2025. And all we got was this lousy t-shirt. How does it feel? We're going to talk about it today. And what's to come for 2026, or at least what we hope is to come. But before we do, it's great to be back with all of you. Welcome back to Doomer Fridays. It's great to see everyone in our chat. You guys are awesome. Shout out to our mod team. Shout out to all of our members that support the show. And shout out to everybody that's subscribed and just comes and hangs out with us. It's great to see all of you here. And of course, I'm joined by our panel. Producer Xander Jones is with us. How you doing, Xander?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year.
Host of Others from Another Mother, Dan Cleary. Dan, how are you doing?
Yeah. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Is that what Xander sounds like? Pip, pip. Hi, guys.
And the UAP therapist, Eric Schindler's here. What's up, Eric? How you doing, man? We never see you anymore.
It's great to be back. Yeah, I was on sabbatical. And happy holidays to everyone. I wish everyone a peaceful and prosperous 2026.
How much hiking did you do over the last couple of months? I feel like you're always out there.
Let me see those calves.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually have a 2-word answer, a lot. And so for Christmas, I was down in the deserts of southern New Mexico. It was an 8-day trip, and I managed to get up 20 peaks.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I'm getting close this summer, maybe this spring, probably this summer. I'll hit lifetime peak 3,000. So that would be really, really cool. I'm really looking
What do you
forward
get for
to
that? Do you get like a shirt?
You get, you just get like,
A leg cramp.
bad hips and bad knees and a couple sprained ankles. It's totally, I just don't recommend it.
Don't recommend it. Well, it always looks like you're having a lot of fun when you're out there. Have you seen anything weird? Since the last time you saw something weird? What's the weirdest thing you've seen out in the middle of nowhere?
No, this trip, no. But it's interesting. This remote area. The last time I was down there, I climbed this remote peak, no trails, cactuses, rock slides, everything. And I got on top, and there was one item, and that was a pogo stick.
Someone had pogoed?
I don't know.
That is very weird.
They tried to pogo
random.
out of there.
Yeah, probably.
So somebody pogoed up there, presumably for the thrill of pogoing back down, but they got to the top and were like, no way. And just left it there and walked back down.
I'll just leave it.
The drugs, the amphetamines wore off.
Yeah.
They were like, I think I'm just going to go home.
It's not as good as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Not my best idea.
By the way, for people who aren't familiar with Eric's work in the great outdoors, you are such an outdoorsman. How many you've published? Over a dozen books? No.
13. I'm up to 13 now, and most are about mountain history in the Northeast United States, where I'm originally from.
And you famously on a previous episode of Doomer Friday, I believe it was, were able to suss out where you think. What was it? Skywatcher was actually doing some of their work based on the foliage.
Correct. There, in a couple of Skywatcher shots were rare cactus, and I'm kind of like an amateur, emphasis on amateur ecologist. And immediately I recognize the cactus. It inhabits 1% of the United States.
Amazing.
So you got to be careful what kind of cactuses are in your shots.
Noted.
Notes for the crew. So how was everybody's New Year? We survived.
We're here.
We're still here.
This is the year where everything starts to happen, apparently.
Right.
The latest round of everything starts to happen.
You said it to me the other day. You said this is Bledsoe's year.
It's Bledsoe's year. This is the year for the Bledsoe family to do their thing.
4 months.
Yeah, they've got a few months. I'm not optimistic, but I'm going to wait on the sidelines.
Really?
Hopeful. I'm going to wait on the sidelines with hope. at the end of the day. That's why I'm here. So
you mean you're not optimistic for Bledsoe or for the year? You mean for the Bledsoe predictions?
For yeah. I mean, what predictions have come true so far?
None.
They're batting against the average here. So as much as I think they're completely sincere, to be honest, in what they're saying, I think the overwhelming likelihood is that they're just wrong, at least. But I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I am wrong.
Recap for people who don't follow this as closely as we might. What is exactly is the Bledsoe's position on the whole situation vis-a-vis Forbes?
To put it very simply, Bledsoe has, when he was talking with the lady, sorry, I have a bit of a cold. He was told that, I think it was Easter 2026, that on the morning of Easter 2026, the star of Regulus or something will rise over the Sphinx in Egypt, and that will signify a new knowledge for mankind. Again, that can be a little bit ambiguous.
Admittedly, sounds like an episode of DuckTales, as far as... I've been watching a lot of DuckTales lately.
I do find it slightly interesting that we had all of that Egypt stuff last year with the pillars underneath Giza and everything. And I'm wondering, what if, you see all these, like, you go to this place at this time on this day of the year in this year, and you see this shaft of light appear at the perfect place to reveal a hidden door.
Raiders.
Like, I would love it to be that. And it's like the paw of the Sphinx or something that leads to a shaft down into the Library of Alexandria or something. That would be awesome. Like, that's just my head running away with the idea, of course, but I would love that to happen.
Man, I don't know. I watched Bledsoe Said So. I think the episode that went up just 2 days ago now. And that's Chris Bledsoe's son, Ryan's podcast. And he was very animated and adamant that they were 100% right. They knew, like, it was and it was not interesting because he said, well, don't listen to Stephen Greer. He's just talking about all this nonsense. We've got the full picture because we were told, and this is something that our family's been experiencing, and it is weird because his dad's abduction experience is so detailed and it was so widely covered, and it seems like sort of iconic it's like the Travis Walton case of this era, I feel like. And people put this sort of they give it a lot of weight, and I just wonder what if you are wrong? What do you do?
The conviction with which they are standing behind this is
impressive,
inspiring, really, because they are now operating under the presumption that if they are, I mean, I don't think they're making this up, but even if they think that, there's a possibility they're all wrong, or I don't know, the timeline changes or something, they're kind of screwed in 4 months' time if nothing happens.
Yeah.
I'm not sure people will take a can being kicked in this instance.
I think if you zoom out a little farther, it started, and actually this is a question really for you guys, but it seems like to me we're starting to enter the next phase of whatever this thing is that we're in the UFO sort of space, where we're starting to see people, I'm going to use the term cult up, right? Like everybody's picking their corner and they're like, we're going to cult up around this idea. And and which is interesting because this isn't the first time that's happened. That's happened in decades before. What do you guys think? It feels that way.
Yeah.
It feels like a ramp up.
Great.
I think. Go ahead, Eric. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. That's a great way to put it. And I think Team Psionic is getting really fast, massive membership, and it seems like people are going to go with that team. I was listening to you, but I was also thinking when I first got into this subject, I saw a presentation by Anton Friedman in 2000 at my college. It's pretty cool, and it was all nuts and bolts. Like he wasn't saying like you can telepathically communicate, and the craft is a living being. I mean, that was just not a thing back then. And it seems like each year we're moving from the nuts and bolts into the consciousness component. And you could see that in James Lukatsky's 2-part interview recently. He said if there's a UAP event, actually the least interesting thing is the craft. You need to look around and see what's going on. And I'm kind of edging toward that team myself.
Yeah. It feels like Diana Pasulka said it was like she did that New York Times podcast with Ross Douthat, I think it's how you pronounce it. I hope I'm getting it right. But she said it was like a distributed religion. It's like UFOs are like a distributed religion. It's all decentralized. It's sort of like evolving in real time. And people are getting, attached to these ideas that it is this or it is that. And then, that's becoming the new landscape. But it is interesting.
A couple of thoughts I had probably in the last week related to specifically the Bledsoe canon. Let's call it the Bledsoe canon, whatever. So we're all sort of increasingly leaning towards the idea of multiple timelines. I know that's a very Burrish thing, but he's not the only person that has talked about it lately. As incoherent as it might seem as well, multiverse idea is a real physical theory that exists within science. I mean, I'm not saying it's related at all to ufology. That's not what science would say. But if we entertain that idea, how can the Bledsoes possibly be certain when really anything could happen in any timeline? That's sort of one idea, but perhaps... Cool point. Perhaps, there are certain things that happen in every single timeline. So, an event involving the sun, it's not like we can do anything to stop that happening. That's just something that's going to happen in all of the timelines that occur on Earth, because the Earth has no influence on the sun whatsoever. But the other thing is, if the people in control of the narrative currently, who I believe are all legacy program people, what are they going to do about it? Because they want to continue control of of what's going on. Surely they must know whether Bledsoe's claims are valid or not. And surely they have a plan in place. Worth thinking about.
I don't know that it's possible to control any aspect of what's going on other than like the particular ballpark that the people are playing in, whatever it is that they happen to be doing. It's almost like it's just too big. There are too many things going on at once at this point. And it just seems like it's out of everyone's hands. So whatever's going to happen, it almost feels like from a government standpoint or from an official bureaucratic standpoint, they're just trying to put the framework in place to make sure everybody is legally okay when the can of worms opens and spills all over the place.
That feels right to me. I think
that's what it's what it feels right. I don't know, Well, what
so
can you
that's
say?
kind of subscribing to the idea that, some things are meant to happen and there's nothing you can do to stop them. And my only thought is, I mean, would they choose to try and get out ahead of whatever Bledsoe has predicted, and they sort of make some sort of controlled announcement saying, something's going to happen at Easter. Don't believe it. It's all a charade and stuff like that. I don't know. It depends what they want out of this thing, but
well, this is what I find so fascinating about the Bledsoe case in particular is that, for one, it's very detailed. It's unique, very unique. He gets this download. He has this encounter with what sounds to me just like a hologram. If you describe a hologram, like that's what he's describing. He's describing a hologram of a woman and a bull that appeared in the air 3 feet off the ground and then spoke to him and gave him a message. But which, maybe 100 years ago would have sounded like, oh my God, this is profoundly a religious experience. But, by today's standards, that's what he saw. Unless someone could show me otherwise. The orb thing is interesting. I think he does post a ton of videos of orbs. I've seen orbs from time to time, but never with any kind of consistency. I I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I feel like they are so sure that the information they have is correct. But there's a woman that I am very fond of. Her name's Carla Turner, and she was an abductee that wrote a couple of books. One called Into the Fringe in the early '90s or late 1980s, and I forget the other one. I think they're out of print now, but you can find her lectures on YouTube.
They're great.
She's great, and one of the first things she says is, like, in her comprehensive look at this whole thing of the abduction phenomena or encounter phenomenon, the thing that remains true most of the times that people are given false information. Like, that's just a fact. Like, they're lied to, and then they're given a date, or they're given oh, this is going to happen on this day. And she even tells this story about a young guy who was told the world's going to end on XYZ date, so he basically changed his whole life, and he thought he only had 5 years left, so he kind of pissed away the next 5 years and wound up regretting it. It's hard to know, and I just think it's happened before. Most of the people who think they know what's going to happen next are wrong most of the time. So yeah, I don't know what happens after Easter, but or maybe it's like in 2012 where they're just like, oh, the new knowledge happened. You didn't feel that? It happened.
I totally felt it, bro.
Does he get away with being able to say, well, it wasn't my prediction, it was the lady's prediction?
I don't think so.
No.
That'd be a tough one.
I think he should. I think I'm of the opinion he owns that prediction. It's his prediction. He got the information from elsewhere, cool, but he's the one presenting it. He's standing by it. So I'm thinking it's his prediction at this point.
Yeah, he's already had the chance to kind of give it to say, this is what she said. I don't know for sure, but he's already has his heels dug in. Is like, this is happening. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, and it's a real risk. I mean, it's if he believes in it, cool. But if it doesn't come to fruition, it's going to be a tough one to explain away, I think.
Real quick. Last year, 2025, what do you think was the biggest story that jumped out at you?
It was a good year
for me. Dan, go ahead, because I went first last time when we.
I thought that the Skywatcher stuff was pretty cool. It's kind of an exciting way to kind of start. That was January of last year, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty exciting. It kind of sparked an entire new area of conversation for this whole field, which hasn't happened in a really long time. And I thought the hearings, the hearing was pretty incredible. That was one of my favorite parts of the year. I think the testimony that we heard was pretty astounding. What else happened this year? I feel like it was a very busy year.
Telepathy tapes. This was big.
Come on, yeah,
unbelievable. I think the dots were really solidly connected between consciousness studies and ufology, and sort of the way those things all connect. I feel like people are 100% on board with that idea now in a way that they weren't before.
Eric?
A lot did happen, and those are all great. Those are on my list of like top 10. For me, it's the 2-part James Lukatsky interview on weaponized. I don't spend a lot of time online, but I imagine a lot of people were grumbling about I can't really answer that. But when you say nothing, that is an answer. So if I ask you, is it true that you've been in the interior of an egg-shaped craft? And the answer is, I can't talk about it. That's an answer, because the answer should be egg-shaped craft. Like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. I've never seen an egg-shaped craft. Just saying I can't talk about it is something, because it was not denial. I've watched that 2-part interview 3 times now. And like most of UAP information, you really have to read between the lines and put breadcrumb to breadcrumb and a puzzle piece to a puzzle piece. For me, I found it extremely informative, and I think he revealed a lot.
I mean, he basically told us,
interesting to listen to in general.
We found out that he had a Q clearance with the DOE, which is pretty massive. He kind of let that slip, a little bit.
That's kind of at the top of the bureaucratic food chain for this whole thing, isn't it? I mean, if he's with Department of Energy, then he would be one of the people that would have access to those craft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought up the DOE. For me, I thought the most interesting thing was he said Kona Blue was not a prospective program. It was up and running, and it is up and running today. So everything we've been told that it's prospective, that Kathleen Hicks was like, oh no, it was just a bunch of weird people, and we never invested money in it. That's all BS. And apparently, Kona Blue is operating today. It's a really important program.
Agreed.
For people who aren't familiar with Kona Blue, what is Kona Blue?
So Kona Blue, I think it's the most important UAP government program because it's the most woo. It wasn't exclusively about UAPs. Now, there was a declassified DHS. It was a Department of Homeland Security program. You can find that online. It kind of looks like an old PowerPoint, and it gives the goals of the program. And a lot of them are entirely wacky. Like one of the goals is to countermeasure remote viewers outside the United States from looking at the stuff that our remote viewers are looking at. It's got some totally wacky stuff, but Lukatsky said it's up and running, and it was extremely valuable because it's looking at more than just the craft. It's looking at the accompanying phenomenon. And it operated 3 field sites. One is Skinwalker Ranch, another is in Missouri, and another I could see out my window. They are in the San Luis Valley of Colorado, and God only knows if they're still here.
So if they are at that level where they're trying to figure out countermeasures and then I guess countermeasures against other remote viewers, that's really deep. That means that they've just been powering through this research for all these decades after they said, oh yeah, we just closed down Stargate because there was nothing there.
Right. And Arrow and a bunch of other organizations of government regarded it as a weird ghost hunt. And I think they did that to influence the public to think, well, they were going to do it. And then weirdos like Lukatsky showed up and they went rogue and went off the rails. And you know what? We shut it down because none of it's real.
Yeah.
And so it's this weird kind of propagandistic front where they're telling you what actually happened to the program, but it sounds so weird, it almost works against them.
It's such a twisted, weird web of like denials and accusations and, just from one person to another. And you have to read between the lines and then piece together what you think you know based on these sort of half answers. I mean, where does this go in the next year, do you think? What are you looking forward in 2026 to? What would you like to see?
Sander?
I think the one thing I want to continue is we've had interviews or people come forward with data and similar and more testimony, but testimony from heavily vetted people. Apologies if you can hear fireworks. People are still celebrating New Year's, apparently. It's only a couple of days late. Hang on, let me shut my window. We had some incredible interviews. So I was rocked by the Dan Sherman interview.
Oh, me too, dude. Yeah.
That connected a lot of different pieces for me personally. I know his story's been out a while, but I had no idea. I didn't know it was a thing, and it was great to hear him tell it again. We had Beatrice Villarreal with some actual hardcore data, which is peer-reviewed and, as far as I'm aware, still not debunked. It's definitely a big question mark as to what it is, but I mean, that was the brilliance
of their whole approach was like, here's the data.
Yeah.
Now you go disprove.
People asked for the data, and they gave it to them. And as far as I'm aware, it's not been debunked. I don't know if there are many theories. When was the interview with? It might have been the year before. The interview with Kennedy's advisor.
Oh, Malmgren this year.
Was that 2025?
Yeah, man.
That was huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, I would like more people like that, and I think we're gonna get some. Just really highly credentialed, really great testimony. Ultimately, you know, at some point, if disclosure happens and it comes from the government, it's just going to be the government's testimony. It's not like they're going to land a craft on the lawn and say, here it is, guys. It's been here all along. It's going to be the president just saying words. It's just going to be his testimony. And we might get the same thing where people say, prove it, like blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, but this is the president of the United States. Whatever you feel of Trump, he's not going to say something like NHI are here.
It's
without
the office.
Some...
Yeah. But so, I think you have to show people something. You've got to show.
I think
people need to see.
I think I'm just trying to get to the point that people will always say, well, it's just what he said. And it's like, yeah, but it's not just somebody saying it at this point.
That argument is so old and annoying to me. Of like, you know, in court, you can have testimony from professionals that can put people in the electric chair. I mean, testimony from experts means something. Just because you're not saying, here's a Gray's arm or whatever it is, like it's testimony from trained professionals with sometimes decades of experience. That is proof to people like us.
We definitely we had to accept it with people like Bob Lazar, regardless of whether we believed him or not. Like, he did not have the credentials on paper to back up, to give credence to his story. I still believe him, but that's just. I wouldn't blame you for not believing him. But people like Malmgren, like Dan Sherman, Villarreal, like they've done the work to make themselves respected, and it's not. I don't think it's a case of it's just people saying stuff. It's not people. It's not just people.
And don't forget, 3i Atlas. That unfolded over the course of months last year. I mean, this was a drama that just kept on giving, and still is a mystery. Still has people completely baffled. At least most people.
Yeah, what's going on?
Do you guys have any thoughts?
Well, we've got Courtney, who's just joined. So
we've got Courtney, who has just joined. Guys, I know many of you in the audience are familiar with Courtney Brown and Farsight. If you are not, he is known globally as the founder of the Farsight Institute. He is a leading architect of scientific remote viewing. After training with the pioneers of the military's original Stargate program, he spent decades using protocol-based psychic perception to map everything from UAP origins to the hidden history of our solar system. And he is here tonight to talk to us about 3i Atlas. Courtney actually reached out to me while I was in Peru for a couple of weeks, and he sent me this email, and he's like, hey, we know what 3i Atlas is. I'd like to tell you about it. I was like, I'm on the side of a mountain. I can't talk to you right now. Please, can we make this work? And we were finally able to get together and make this happen. So, Courtney, please welcome everybody, Courtney, to the show. And Courtney, thank you for being here. It's great to see you.
Hey, it's great. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks.
So, tell people quickly about Farsight. What is it that Farsight is? What do you do there? And why should people be paying attention to that work?
Yeah, well, Farsight is two things. On one level, it's a nonprofit, and it's a nonprofit educational institute. And the other level, it's a movie company, just a regular, normal movie company. But what it specializes in the subject of remote viewing. Now, remote viewing is, there's zillions of websites and people that talk about remote viewing. And if you just do a thing on remote viewing, you get zillions of websites. However, Farsight is the only place on the planet Earth where you get full public projects and people explaining what remote viewing actually is and how to do it, and full public projects of it being done. Not one or two, but hundreds of projects. I can prove that Farsight is the only major venue where remote viewing projects are available. It's not like the best. It's the only venue where you can actually see public projects of remote viewing. And I can prove how important it is. It's the only venue that's totally banned or shadow banned by Google and YouTube on remote viewing. It's the only one. If you do a search for remote viewing, just remote viewing on YouTube, you won't find us. Now, we are the largest venue on the planet Earth for remote viewing, but you can't find us.
Now, why is that? What happened there?
June 2022 is when it started. We were always at the top 5 or something like that. But powers that be let them know that they don't want people finding Farsight. Now, farsightprime.com is our streaming service. We can't rely on YouTube. So we had to have our own streaming service, like Hulu, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Disney, things like that. We have our own streaming service where we have hundreds of projects of remote viewing, all done under totally blind, strictly scientific, very defendable conditions where everything's explained, and they don't want you to know about it because the entire shebang is revealed. We have so many projects on so many different topics, and everything is done under squeaky clean, blind, scientifically defensible conditions, and you get to see the remote viewers doing their work, and you get to see them being told what the target is afterwards, and you can see their surprise, what? And everything is explained, and it's all done live on video in a very cinematically interesting way, and we're now deep into animation and high-end graphics. So it really
and
is
people can see the notes of the viewers that are actually doing it. They're making their notes in real time and sketching as they go. Is this like, are people able to watch that whole process?
Absolutely. That's the whole point. But we had to learn how to make it cinematically interesting. So we have our own studio. We have 2 studios. We have our own, high-end cameras. We have our own everything to make it palatable so people can. In the old days, people used to set up a webcam or something and watch people, not us, but they used to watch people draw on a piece of paper, which is like crazy. Nobody wants to do that. You have more excitement watching your lawn grow, the grass grow on your front lawn. So, but this is a situation where we had something that was really important, and we wanted to make it really interesting to watch. And so we invested in making remote viewing, something that's useful for people. Now, we're going to be talking about 3i Atlas. That was one of our projects, but you were talking on the show before about Bob Lazar.
Mm-hmm.
We had a whole project on Bob Lazar. We have literally hundreds of projects. If you do a research, for example, for remote viewing on Google, you won't find us. In fact, because we can use Google Analytics to determine this, we had followers that would tell us about their attempts to try to find us on Google. Now, Google, you're supposed to be able to find anything relevant, right? We are the largest venue on remote viewing that exists. Now, until June 2022, we were always in the top 5, always. However, and after that, the shadow banning and the banning began. Now, one of our followers in New Zealand, no less, was trying to find us and trying to see if what we were saying about the shadow banning was correct. And we were able to actually use Google Analytics to follow what was happening with that particular person, because that particular, the analytics for Google Analytics are actually quite detailed. And so the shadow banning was like this. You could actually see him clicking. The first page of results after looking for remote viewing had nothing. And there were 10 entries on it. He went to the next page. Nothing. He went to the next page, nothing. And then you could see that the AI that's being set up to run Google, the search engines, you could see that it had placed Farsight below his search, and it could tell that that the guy was searching for Farsight. And as he kept on clicking, it kept on moving Farsight further and further down the page.
Why do you think that Google is so aggressively shadow banning Farsight? Because you do have an enormous repository of stuff on remote viewing on your site. Yeah. It is truly unbelievable. I spent a lot of time just going through for the vault, which I want you to talk about later. But what did something precipitate this, or was there, was it just that your team was able to see things you weren't supposed to see and you were reporting on it? Like, what happened there?
Yes, for all of the above. Basically, what happened is the powers that be said, we just can't allow this to happen. But if they banned us outright, like invaded our facilities, closed us down, things like that, it would be an incident. So the easiest way for the powers that be to to do this is simply Google. Do you realize how much how much government money and how much government involvement Google is involved in with the government, military intelligence, the things like that? It's just it's part of the man.
They're one and the same. I mean, they're a CIA cutout. A lot of these companies are.
So what happened is they finally made a decision, especially when it got to the point where Congress was insisting that the military start showing evidence of UAPs, UFOs. That's when the famous Tic Tac video was released. And so they finally said, okay, we're going to do this. And then we went from always in the top 5 to around the top 100. We bounded 100. But when that guy was searching for us, Google AI stopped putting us further and further down as he kept on searching at 250. That means he had to go 25 pages down before he found Farsight. Now, Farsight it's not just the best. It's the only, I can say it's the best because if you want to find remote viewing stuff and you just do a search for remote viewing, you'll get hundreds of websites, but none of them will tell you anything interesting. None of them they'll tell you the glory days of the military did XYZ, or they'll tell you, but you don't actually see it happening. You don't actually see it explained. You don't actually see it. There's no understanding of it. And then when it comes to Farsight, it's the only place where you can actually see it. There isn't any other place. Now, we used to put all of our instructional videos on YouTube, but then when they started shadow banning us and regular banning, we just said, what the heck? So we moved everything over to farsightprime.com. Farsightprime.com is run by Vimeo. So it's totally equivalent in technical capabilities to Amazon, to Hulu, Netflix, Disney, Paramount Plus, anything like that. But its total focus is on remote viewing. So it's the only place you can go anywhere on the entire planet Earth to actually see remote viewing happen.
I've got the website up on my screen. I'm going to see if I can share it. Maybe Xander can put this up really quickly for people to check this out. Can you walk us through really quickly what you have a technique called scientific remote viewing that you have developed, which is a offshoot of the original Stargate type remote viewing that was pioneered in the late 70s and early 80s. Can you walk us through what is different about what you guys do at Farsight versus a lot of the other remote viewing techniques that we hear about?
Well, basically, when you're doing remote viewing, you have to optimize everything. And when we were looking at the military procedures, we're not criticizing the military procedures. We're glad that they actually did it. In fact, Lynn Buchanan, who is the standard bearer of CRV, controlled remote viewing, one of the premier military guys, he's on our board of directors. So, so I'm not criticizing that, but looking at what it was doing, what it did, it wasn't satisfactory for us. Yeah, so now you have up on your screen the Farsight Institute. That's farsight.org. Farsight.org. That's our regular website. And in the introduction section, as you see, there's a lot of stuff, and there's basic information, very detailed information about remote viewing at the top and everything else that we do. And then on farsightprime.com, that's where you actually get all of our major projects. So the basic idea is that with the standard remote viewing that was done at the military, they figured out that if you probe something on a piece of paper with your pen and focus your attention on that, you could start to perceive elements of that object, of the place and location, time. So you could actually perceive across time and space. Now, this was in complete violation of the laws of physics, because physics says information is equivalent to mass and energy equals mc squared and so on. And this is not in dispute. They actually take completely closed systems, physicists do, where they have a completely closed system. Nothing can get in and out. But there's organization. The molecules are arranged in a certain way or something. And then you let entropy take its place and things just sort of start to decay and energy is released. So when information comes apart or when information is lost, you release energy. That means the information actually is energy. And to transfer information across time and space, you're transferring energy across time and space. And then that means E equals mc squared. You're transferring mass across time and space. And physics just blew up. They didn't. So the physics of what we do is explained through an alternate theory of physics that is now gaining greater respect within the physics community, called the other worlds theory of quantum mechanics. It's an interpretation of quantum mechanics, and it was developed by a guy called Hugh Everett, who got his PhD under John Wheeler in Princeton in 1957. He was so widely mocked and ridiculed, he left physics and went into the Defense Department and became one of the prime architects of what we call MAD, mutually assured destruction, which basically stopped nuclear Armageddon from happening back in the old days. But that interpretation of quantum mechanics is now being accepted by, I guess, around 25% of mainstream physicists, but they're younger and they're waiting for the older physicists to retire and die off. That's what's happening. So there's a gradual shift in the in understanding. The original understanding of quantum mechanics is called the Copenhagen interpretation, which basically says that there can be only one reality, and that you get stuff that's happening on the quantum level, and what happens is one reality pops out of that, and then all other possibilities go away. And whoever said, who decided that? And it's true. It was not based on any empirical evidence whatsoever. It was just somebody said, we're going to decide that's what's going on. So whoever reinterpreted that, and that's where we got the other worlds theory. Anyway, that allows the remote viewing process on the level of science to actually happen. Now, let me say also, I am a university professor at a prestigious university. I do not do anything like this with remote viewing or studying extraterrestrials or whatever at the university. There I teach mathematical courses in the social science department. But nonetheless, I am a scientist, so I look at this whole thing from a scientific perspective, and all of Farsight is grounded on the idea that this has got to be scientific. But I understand my scientific colleagues, and I know how screwed up they are with regard to accepting or even contemplating new ideas. And so I know, for example, the physics community, how really messed up they are, because they literally have to wait till they retire and die off before we can allow a new idea to enter into physics. Now, this is not my idea to observe this. Max Planck observed this 150 years, more than 100 years ago. And so this is how new ideas get accepted. People are introduced to ideas when they go to graduate school, and then they stick to those ideas until they die. And then you have to wait for a new paradigm to come in. So that's what we're basically doing. Farsight is completely revolutionary in that sense. We are totally coming up with a new way to do things, a new way to get information, and a new way to interpret the UAP or UFO type of phenomenon, because obviously extraterrestrials have advanced technology and they understand all this, and they're not caught up in these silly wars, these information wars.
Courtney, is telepathy the universal language? It seems like that seems to be the case, and that seems to be more or less what people have realized over the last couple of years.
In all of the alien stuff that you get, and this is really not in dispute if you actually look at what's going on in the mainstream, there have been congressional hearings with, for example, David Grush, Lou Elizondo, and so on like that. Congressional hearings, congressional hearings about both private congressional hearings and public about the so-called crash retrieval program and the non-human biologics that are on the crashed ships and so on. They're not going into why the ships are crashing. That's a whole nother story. But they are openly admitting that there are things like that. Now, when these things are done, and you get people like David Grush actually talking about it, he's been doing that, still employed. I think he's no longer with the Pentagon right now, but at the time he was doing the congressional hearings, he was still employed by the Pentagon, and he still got official clearance from his wing in the Pentagon for everything he said, including the complete description of the ships, the way they crashed, the retrieval of the bodies, the people, the live people, everything. And they call them non-human biologics, which is sort of crazy, but nonetheless, he got that. Now, down the hall at the Pentagon, down the hall, you go down the hall, turn to the left, there's another office, and they say, oh, no, there's nothing like that. There's no evidence of anything. So obviously the military is split. Half of them want full disclosure, and the other half is saying no. There's a whole history and reasoning behind all of that. But nonetheless, for those people who are looking and taking things seriously, it's not in dispute that these things actually happen. Now, this can actually blend into the 3-eye atlas thing. And let me come back to Bob Lazar for a second, because you were talking about that before I got on. We did a full project on Bob Lazar. We know the whole story. Bob Lazar was the real deal. He actually did see all those things. But according to our research, he was someone that the men in black, you might call them, the guys who said they wanted somebody, they knew that this stuff was going to come out. So they wanted to get it out, but to control how it was going to be gotten. So according to our research, the best interpretation that I can see out of all of our research, and it's quite clear about this, we actually have really good descriptions of this event. The guys picked up Bob Lazar and said, he's going to be our candidate. He's going to be the one. They showed him all those things. He did actually see that stuff. And they told him everything that he needed to say to make the thing believable. They didn't want one of their own physicists to actually come out and do the disclosure and say what's going on, because that would be obvious. That'd be too much. First, it would ruin the person's career because he would be ridiculed. Secondly, he might be taken seriously, and that would be terrible. So the best way to keep something secret is to release the information, but make it discreditable. So if you have somebody like Bob Lazar, who, according to people like Stanton Friedman and others, doesn't have the educational background that he claimed to have, it's perfect, because you tell him the correct information, you show him actually everything, and then you release him. He's going to be attacked for saying all types of things, but he's saying true stuff. So that's our interpretation of what really happened with Bob Lazar. He's actually saying the truth of what happened to him, but the whole background of who he is, where he came from, his educational background, apparently that's not the way it is either. So that's sort of part of the whole thing. And that's been a very classic means of revealing things in the West, in secrets about the West. You release something, and then you make sure it's discredited, and that's the way you keep it out of the mainstream. So I give my hat off to Bob Lazar, because he is telling truthful stuff. However, that's exactly what happened with remote viewing. This is a modus operandi. This is what they do. The military said, this is going to come out. You're going to be able to. People are going to do that, and the last thing we want is for the mainstream to actually lock onto this as being a real thing. So they purposefully let some remote viewers out of the military to distribute this information in what they hoped would be the New Age community. And it would stay that way. And as long as it was in the New Age community, they could teach remote viewing and get an income from it and things like that, then it would not be considered credible, and the mainstream would just attack it, and it would stay in the New Age goofy community, because mainstream scientists are going to say that's wacky, and they don't want to be contaminated by something that looks like it's wacky. So they did it that way, but the last thing they were expecting was for a very respectable university professor like myself, working at major universities, come out and sort of push this thing forward. So we went through a long sort of history of that. But the basic operations of military intelligence and other levels of intelligence, when they want to keep something secret, is they put it right in front of you and then discredit it. It's way better than actually trying to hide something so that you don't find it out, because it causes then a great mystery. The tremendous amount of information is coming out of it. For example, when you look at the assassination of JFK, it was quite obvious if you look at the Magruder films of the actual assassination. It was quite obvious that he was hit by bullets coming from different directions, and it was an inside job. So what you actually do is you say, well, let's put it out there. People are seeing it, and let's make that incredible. Let's make it that not credible. So they invented a new term called conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory started with the John F. Kennedy assassination. So anybody who actually said it was anything other than Lee Harvey Oswald, a lone gunman who was, by the government's own Warren report, their own forensic people, using a rifle that was broken. The shims on it, the sights on it were broken, and it was rusted, and it was old, and that they said that was the rifle that was used by this guy who was not a sharpshooter, John F. Kennedy, from from a huge distance away, with absolute precision, and
in a moving car. Yeah,
in a moving car. And what do you know about people who have guns and know about guns? What do? Clint, everybody, you know this. They polish their guns. They are sharpshooters. They oil their guns. They
bedazzle them.
They put them up on over the fireplace. I mean, it's like they worship these things. You're not going to try an assassination with a sharpshooter that can shoot at that distance a moving target with perfect accuracy. You're not going to put that guy having a rusty gun. Now, the government's own forensic people, this is the government's forensic people, this is in the Warren report. They said the gun was broken, the sights were broken, and that they tried to fix it with shims, and it was so badly broken they couldn't fix it. And you're telling me that's the gun that shot John F. Kennedy from that distance?
I feel like if anything has settled in with people now, it's especially after last year and the whole Epstein fiasco, it's that this kind of stuff happens a lot more often than people would like to think it does.
That's exactly right.
And they're bad at it. A lot of times they're really bad at it. And they thumb it, and the fingerprints are all over the place, and you can totally tell that we're being played.
And it still works. It still works because it's the control of information in basically what we have here is prison planet. This is not an analogy or a metaphor. It's a real, authentic prison planet. There are two basic groups of extraterrestrials. We call them the good guys, the good ETs and the bad ETs. The bad ETs have written agreements with the United States government and some other governments to have tech transfer in exchange for permission to operate here and so on and do things. Now, that's not just me talking. Haim Ashed, the former CEO of the Israeli Space Directorate, for 30 years, Haim Ashed, you can look this up, you can Google it. He gave a full interview on this, but he thought he was going to be able to get away with it. So he did the interview in a Hebrew publication. The trouble is, it turned out lots of people know Hebrew, and they immediately translated into every language on the planet. And he said that there are these written agreements with the United States government, that the Israelis work with the extraterrestrials, the U.S. government works with the extraterrestrials.
Paul Hellyer, the Canadian defense minister, also said the same thing.
Yeah, I knew Paul. This is just so it's not in dispute, but you don't see the mainstream actually sort of broadcasting this, even though now Haim Ashed, he's not only the former director of the Israeli Space Directorate, but he's also a decorated general and now a college professor. And you don't have to take my word for this. We at Farsight believe in you being able to see everything. We believe in the dissolving secrecy, and that's exactly what the powers that be want to avoid: the dissolving of secrecy, because that's how they keep control of things.
I want to get into this a little bit more, and I want to get back to 3i Atlas, because I think that was obviously one of the biggest stories of last year. And for people who are watching, if you haven't already, please hit that like button. We're at, let's see, how many viewers are we at right now? We're at almost 300 viewers. If everybody hit that like button just once, we'd be at over 300 likes. Come on, guys, we can do it.
We've also just had the main man, Pavel, join us as well. Say hi, Pavel.
Sigo Activo.
Hello. How you guys doing? Good to see you all. Hello, Dr. Brown. How you doing?
Now, there's something relating to all of this and 3i Atlas, if you want me to. I can connect this to 3i Atlas if you want.
Let's judo flip into 3i Atlas, and then I want to circle back to the power struggle between the good guys and the bad guys.
Okay, yeah, that's really interesting. So with regard to 3i Atlas, we, of course, did a project on that, and we released a video on that, and you can see sort of the thumbnail for that on the computer screens behind me.
I can link to that in our show notes also.
Yeah, so actually we released that on YouTube for free, as well as on farsightprime.com, because we wanted people to see our new means of new methods of showing things with high-end graphics, animation, and stuff like that. So what we basically did is we wanted to see what was 3i Atlas. Now, this was the problem. We have people like Avi Loeb from Harvard professor. astronomer, former head of his department, so on like that. And we had other people from Harvard, also Michio Kaku, sort of jumping into the fray and something, talking about the possibilities that 3i Atlas was something, like maybe it might be extraterrestrial, it might be tech, something like that. It was doing things that are abnormal, things like that. And it was starting to me to sound a lot like the Hale-Bopp thing that happened back in like 1997, 1996, 97, and so on, with mostly with the Art Bell show. And we got caught up on that because that was our first experience. It was one of the most fortunate experiences that we ever went through at Farsight, that I ever went through. Very painful, because it was a psyops against what we were doing, once we were actually talking about. So I had someone who I knew personally, Chuck Schrammick, who had some photographs. He was an amateur astronomer, but also he was a newscaster in Houston, Texas. And he had 100 pictures of this anomaly that you could see in the line of sight with Hale-Bopp. So if you pointed his telescope at Hale-Bopp, you could see this anomaly. Now, he never said, and I never said, that there was something following the comet, but nonetheless, you could see it in that. So, and he had 100 pictures of that. A few days later, he posted one of them on his website. It caused a little bit of a stir. And a few days later, one of the most famous leading astronomers on the planet Earth called him up. Now, that was in the days when they used landlines. There were no cell phones back in those days. And his number was unlisted. So the first thing he said to himself was, what the blankety blank? How'd the guy find my number? I'm a newscaster. We don't have our numbers published. And then the guy was adamant, furious is a good way to put it. He said he was demanding that Chuck Schrammick, an amateur astronomer, take that photo down. Now. And Chuck said, "Why are you calling me? I'm a nobody. You're one of the biggest astronomers on the planet Earth. How did you get a hold of me? And why are you talking to me? Take that photograph now." So Chuck did not take the photograph down. The guy called back a couple of days later, same thing, insisting. Anyway, and meanwhile, he was on the Art Bell show, late night radio. And Art Bell had a kind of thing had a talk with him. And we decided to actually do a project real quick on the Hale-Bopp anomaly using Chuck Schrammick's photo, because I knew I could trust Chuck that this was a photo. And we came up with the idea that it was a portal, and there were things coming in and out, ships coming in and out. There was some type of thing. It was an anomaly, but it was quite clearly artificial. Now, that caused sort of a big stink on the internet. The military intelligence at the time that was following us had planned to actually attack us using health-related issues, saying remote viewing is unhealthy and it can hurt you and things like that. And when that came out, they decided, oh no, we're going to pivot. This is too good. We did this. So they got somebody that was on their payroll to be given... the guy worked at a university and he knew somebody at the institute, to be given some photographs on film, slide film. Back in those days, they didn't do digital stuff like on your cell phone. They actually printed things out on film. So they had a digital image coming from a telescope, and they had those things printed onto film. It's like printing on a piece of paper on your printer, but putting it on film. And then they sent that to this guy that worked at another university. That guy talked to the person at Farsight and convinced her that this was the real thing. And they sent her 3 rolls of film. We developed them ourselves. 2 were totally blank, and the other one had 5 images. And I said, well, that was really interesting. And then, out of the clear blue sky, Art Bell calls me up and says, "Oh, Courtney, we gotta help Chuck Schrammick. You know Chuck. I mean, he's really great. He's been actually forced to leave Houston. He's actually gone to Florida because he's being so badly harassed. We got to help him." I said, "Well, Art, I was wanting to get back on the Art Bell show, so I was trying to be helpful." But I said, "What can I do?" He said, "Well, talk about those images that you were sent." And I said, "Well, we can't talk about those. They're not ours. We didn't do anything with them. They're owned, but the copyright is somebody else's." And they said they're going to talk about it, make an announcement publicly in a few weeks anyway. So why do we need to do it? And then he said, "But because Chuck is in such a dire situation, you got to help Chuck." And so, and I wanted to help. I wanted to get back onto the Art Bell show. So I said, okay, well, this is what we can do. We can talk about the images anecdotally, but not release them because we don't own the copyright to them. If they're going to be released, they got to be released by whoever owns them. So he said, okay, now send me one. He said, send me one so I can have a reference for what we're talking about when we're talking about it. So we sent him one scan of one of the images. Now, these were razor sharp images that you could look at with a loop. Now, a loop back in those days, this is a loop. And this is how they looked at slide film in the old days. You put this over it, and it's a magnifier, and you could actually see it. Now, what we could see is that the CCD pixel lines, the computer digital sensor lines, were absolutely razor sharp. So this was taken from a legitimate astronomical source, printed on the film, and then sent us. So we sent him on, and then we had another thing on. I was only on for a couple of minutes, but the person who got the stuff at Farsight from the so-called astronomer, who turned out to be not an astronomer at all. He was a professor at a university.
Well, what was the purpose of all this? Like, what did this amount to in the end?
I'll get to that. Just let me finish. I'll make it real. I'll give you the short story. So she was on the Art Bell show for a long time, plus somebody else, and they talked about this thing at length. Okay, and then what happened was Art Bell whipped that thing into a frenzy. He whipped it into a frenzy, and then he totally violated the agreement that we had. It was a verbal agreement, and said he was going to publish the image by the image that was submitted by Courtney Brown. And we said, we didn't submit it, and you're not supposed to publish. Anyway, at the beginning of January, he published the image in 1997. Like within 24 hours, the mainstream astronomers, two mainstream astronomers contacted him and said, these were stolen from our website. This is ours. Now, two things. A, I didn't know that mainstream astronomers listen to the Art Bell show at night. So that was sort of a novel.
A lot of people listen to that show. That was, huge show.
Anyway, but they contacted in a blink of an eye, and they convinced Art that they were stolen from the website, and then we were not. And then he only had me on one more time, and that was to accuse me of all types of things, of like sending of conducting a fraud, and we had not images for anything, and we said they were sent by somebody else. So
what was when these images got published and then they were put up? What was the effect on Farsight? And how does this tie into? I mean, I think the Hale-Bopp people are the ones that jump to mind when you think I'm sorry, what's the cult?
Heaven's Gate. I think.
Heaven's Gate. Yeah, the Hale-Bopp.
And the crazy guy that was running it, a white guy or something.
Marshall Applewhite.
Yeah. Okay.
With the eyes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dope.
Yeah. Anyway,
ChatGPT.
Yeah. And so but the original goal was they hoped that we actually used the images for targeting because they knew the images were going to be discredited. They knew that in advance. And then but we never used them. But they said they'll.
So was the thinking like we're going to give you these fake images, give them to Courtney and his team, and then we're going to tease him with an opportunity to be on Art Bell.
Yes.
In those days, for people who are too young to remember, that was like being on Joe Rogan. Like Art Bell was like the Joe Rogan of that time.
Exactly.
They thinking you would take the bait, go on the show, blow up these fake images, and then they could pull the rug out from under you. Is that?
Yeah, but they turned out to be real images. But the point is that the audience was told that they were stolen from the website. Okay,
right.
And so the basic idea is they wanted us to use them for remote viewing targeting, so that the remote viewing would be discredited. But we never used it for that. But so what they did get was a controversy. And now immediately after they published those. Art Bell published that paper, that was image. He started to super hype up the whole Hale-Bopp thing. He called it the Hail Mary. And then they got some military remote viewer, I won't mention names, but he saying, oh, the Courtney Brown's team did it totally wrong. We know what it really is.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And they said that, and he said that this is a UFO following Hale-Bopp, and it's carrying a plant pathogen weapon.
I remember this.
That is going to be dropped onto Africa and wipe out all plant life. And if
spores, it was going to be fungal spores that were going to go, I think, everywhere, and they were going to just wipe out all plant life. Yeah.
And if you want to find the safe zones, you can buy his remote viewing kit. I think it was $55 at the time or something like that. Anyway, they sold like
Yeah, he would record these from his place in Maui. He'd have these like videos and he'd be like, I'm here on the beautiful beach of Maui. Let me tell you when you escape the apocalypse, get some real estate down here.
And Art Bell had him on regularly, and he was really pushing and pushing and pushing. And then finally, I think it was sometime in March 1997, the Heaven's Gate group, they were a bunch of eunuchs. They were real sick puppies. They actually cut their balls off. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
But they were eunuchs, and their leader, I think is this guy named White or something. He probably was realizing this thing was going to eventually blow up in his face, and he had to tell his followers, "Hey, it was all a big mistake. Well, it's just among friends. You can go home now." And they had already cut their balls off. So like anyway. So he decided to wrap things up, and he just told everybody to commit suicide, and they committed suicide.
It was super weird. Just a quick sidebar on this, because culturally it was a weird moment. I remember 1997. The internet was still really young. For people who are like kids today, they have no idea. There was like 5 websites. It really wasn't much of anything. And when this video came out, it was super creepy because this whole cult committed mass suicide. Remember this? Dan, you know what I'm saying?
Of course. Black Nikes and the purple shrouds, of course.
Yes. And they walked through the house, and it was like one video camera with a light on it, and they're going through this house, and they're showing the shots of all these people, and you're like, holy shit.
A friend of mine did the cleanup of the site. He's the guy that cleared all the bodies and took all the mattresses out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, now I am absolutely positive that the U.S. military intelligence people had nothing to do with the Heaven's Gate thing. That just dropped in their lap. It was like a cherry on top of the cake. It was the total disinformation psyops thing. And so they fundamentally discredited remote viewing, the whole thing, everything. It looked like it was, and they made it so that the mainstream wouldn't go anywhere near either remote viewing or aliens, extraterrestrial stuff. I mean, it was a total toxic cake that they sort of spread out everywhere. And the most interesting thing was, it was the best, honest, most fortunate thing that could ever have happened to me personally and to Farsight, because I found out I got an education. I should have paid them thousands of dollars of tuitions. I got an education in how psyops actually work. Now, it turned out later we were so influential to a few of the people that were working in the military intelligence at the time, that one of them actually broke off and came to us and actually showed us proof of who he was. He gave us a transcript of a very sensitive phone conversation that we had had with Art Bell. And, it was better than a card saying who he was. He gave us total proof of who he was. And he explained everything. He explained how the images were gotten, how they were sent through another source. The guy that was sent.
Bring it, just because we're short on time, and I don't want to. I want to stay with 3i Atlas, because the Hale-Bopp Applewhite thing was crazy, and there are parallels to 3i Atlas. As it was coming through, we had all of this kind of sensationalist ideas about what it could or couldn't be, and all these different sort of notions of what might be happening with it, and no one seemed to really know. And it became this media frenzy, and then we kind of ended the year. I think it was what was the day it passed by Earth? It was like December 26th.
December 22nd.
22nd.
It's December 19th, I think it was.
Right. Yeah. So somewhere in that window. Your team of remote viewers, how many remote viewers did you have look at this? And what did you guys find out about 3i Atlas?
Yeah, that particular project, we were very hesitant to do. We only had one remote viewer do it, my son, Aziz Brown. And we were hesitant to do it because it stank so much of the Hale-Bopp thing. Because it was like a comet coming in through media, hyping it up. It might be extraterrestrial. And then you had people like Avi Loeb saying it could be extraterrestrial. Excuse me. It could be extraterrestrial. And then others coming in and and it looked like it was being set up for some type of discreditation type of thing. Now, I'm not saying Avi Loeb or anybody, only the academics were involved in any type of psyops and anything like that, but it just smelled a lot like that. So I decided, we have to find out what this is. And so So we did a project on 3i Atlas, and we have one remote viewer. Normally we have a 2 or 3 remote viewers do things, but this had to be done sort of quickly because 3i Atlas was sort of heading into the inner parts of the solar system, so we had to sort of do this quickly. But Aziz is a really great remote viewer. He did it totally blind, totally with absolutely no foreknowledge of anything, all the way through recording everything on video. And it's available for people to see on YouTube on our Farsight YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and go to Farsight, and you'll Farsight on YouTube, and you'll see it, 3i Atlas. And basically, we found out it was a rock. It was a real. It wasn't a comet in the classical sense. It was a rock. However, it had an extraterrestrial ship built into it. So it was a hybrid. It was both a ship. It was a hybrid. It was a ship and a rock. And it was actually being operated by the bad ETs, and they had a reptilian actually in, running the operation in it, and it wasn't going to be fooling any of the other ETs, like the good ETs, ones that we work with. It wasn't going to be fooling them, but it would have fooled humans. And that's, in fact, exactly what it was doing. Now, we don't know I know PSYOPs really well now. We don't know what that PSYOP was planned to do. We don't know what was actually going on, what they were heading to do. But I don't think they got what they wanted. I think they were going to do more with it, just like with the Hale-Bopp thing. You build something in, and then you sort of add layers to it, and then you ultimately want some type of discreditation to occur, some built in, and had all that signature elements of something like that. But I don't think they got what they wanted. But nonetheless, it really was something. And what we discovered also, we looked at it early, like in around November, and then we looked at it again around December 19th, when it was going to get as close as it was going to get to Earth. And it, and now, so sometime between then and say the end of January, sometime around that period, it's still sort of in the same distance, it was going to be attacked. Meaning the so-called good ETs, they were going to attack it. There was going to be a battle. And we clearly stated on our video that what people would see from Earth is something that the mainstream would say looks like a gaseous release. Like with comets, you get a sort of a release of gases and it comes out. So they're going to sort of try to explain it away. But there would be something anomalous that would occur that we'd be able to see mildly, but you'd be able to see some evidence of something happening, because it shouldn't be happening when it's moving away from the sun.
So Aziz looked at this. How many sessions did he do total?
It was one session, but he's a good remote viewer. Our sessions are encompassing. They take a few hours to do. And so it was a lot of information. You can see the whole thing on the video.
Now, when he does this session, he's able to identify that this is a natural rock, but it's got some kind of like technology built into it. That's what you're saying. Like it was to use as camouflage. This rock was basically
it was built, and it's all clear in the video. But and the sketches are there. It was totally. That's exactly right. And
but there's no idea what the objective of this thing was, or what its mission was.
It was clear that it wasn't going to be fooling any extraterrestrials, but it was clear that it was going to be something with the human population. Then we're trying to figure out, well, what was the actual goal? And that's why I brought up the Hale-Bopp thing. You have to say, what was the goal? What were they trying to accomplish with all of this? Now, you can sort of say, well, you're trying to, like Avi Loeb has been really pushing the idea that with Oumuamua and with 3i Atlas, that these may be tech objects that are coming in from other star systems where in the galaxy, that eventually sort of wander into our solar system and that we can see. So he's looking there. That's fine, and I think that's interesting, and I'm not criticizing him. I think that's a great thing for asking these questions. But, it's completely ignoring the reality of extraterrestrials being here on the planet, and it gets the entire planet focusing on looking up and looking at that stupid rock in space rather than looking at what's going on, and that seems to be the real purpose. Now, what is
going on? Like, just break it down for people in simple terms. You said good ETs and bad ETs. That seems really simplistic. Walk us through that.
The good ETs are another group of extraterrestrials, and the bad ETs are a separate group. The bad ETs and the good ETs are what's left over from what actually was a Star Wars type galactic war. It was a Holocaust that lasted like 1,000,000 years. It's basically over now. And what's left is there's a section of the galaxy that's run by the bad ETs. You might consider them like the Nazis. And there's a section of the galaxy that's run by the good ETs. You might consider that the free will democratic type of things. Now, the free will ETs are adamantly free will. I call them free will fanatics. They don't like that when I say that, to be quite honest. But that's what they won't help anybody unless the person asks for it, asks for the assistance. Okay, and they look at the written agreements that the bad ETs have with the United States government, and a few other governments, and say that was a free will agreement. So they're involved now in trying to get public disclosure out, circumventing the authorities, which are totally corrupted and totally bought off with these agreements with the bad ETs. And they're trying to go directly to the masses to get basically a revolution from below with the masses in order to get a different decision, a different free will decision from the masses that they want to align themselves with the good ETs. And then the good ETs can intervene. In the solar system, the good ETs are vastly superior in terms of numbers. Both sides have the same weaponry, so it's not like one has a technological advantage over the other. But they've pumped in a huge amount of resources in the solar system, but they cannot intervene on Earth until there's a free will decision. The bad ETs have been running this place for thousands of years. Think of the pyramids building days when you had everyone running around in loincloths and riding on camels and things like that. That's what the bad ETs, that's how the bad ETs would have loved to have continued running this planet. There was some intervention early on. They had to start running things from behind the scenes using Plan B, but they still run things from behind the scenes. And they're using the fact that the free will ETs respect free will agreements to be able to get on. So they're trying to use various means of it's a psychological prison. It's not a prison that is like with bars and cement. It's a psychological prison. And so they're trying to use that as a means to keep the free will ETs from intervening. The free will
I just want to ask you a question about the agreement thing, because I've heard this. We hear this a lot, and I just wonder, like, what is it? What is it that we have to offer a race of technologically advanced beings that would give us any leverage in a written agreement? I could never wrap my mind around it.
We have two things. This is a prison. You have to stop thinking this is your own planet. This is a place. Everybody on this planet came from someplace else. It's a prison. So what you have is a huge population here. There are 8 billion people on the planet. How many people are not in physical bodies? Now, we call them ISBs, which are immortal spiritual beings. But the whole idea of an ISB is you're not who you think you are. You're not your physical body. The body is just a wrapper. It's a container. And so on Earth, one of the things that's paramount for the bad ETs is to make people convinced that the soul is questionable, whether it even actually exists. They want you to think that you actually are your bodies. But the point is, you have billions and billions of people here, either in a body or out of a body, and you can sort of say, well, why would they want that many? Because the authoritarian fascist bad ETs are going to expand, just like the Nazis tried to expand. They're trying to expand. They're trying to bring back the war and to that type of thinking. They want to re-enter the galaxy and start reconquering. And you can't conquer a galaxy with just a few people. The galaxy is huge. You need billions of people to flow in. You can't take 12 people and conquer the galaxy with it. If you're going to conquer somebody, you've got to actually go in with people, billions of people. You're going to need people for mercenaries. You're going to need prostitutes to service those mercenaries. You're going to need trade people. You're going to need every possible imaginable thing. And they're all going to have to essentially be slaves. But you're going to have to control that just the way the Nazis controlled their society. In that sense, you control every single level of it. It's because of a future expansion. That's why the good ETs are here. They have trouble in the future, and they traced it back to this planet. This is where the reservoir of people, the bad ETs aren't interested in the gold or the plant life or the minerals. They're interested in us. And the bodies, the genetics of this planet have been specially designed to dampen down remote viewing capabilities, telepathic capabilities, to make everybody into a mental prisoner that can't see out of their own walls of their own walls of their own mind.
One of the most interesting anecdotes about, like, there's a great book that I talk about from time to time called Penetration by Ingo Swann.
Yeah.
And he talked about there was something going on. There was some kind of a field around the Earth, or some kind of a dampening effect that was being put out.
Yeah, it's called a size suppression field, and that was first discovered in reality by cosmonauts from the Soviet Union who did telepathy experiments in space, and then they noticed that the ability to do telepathy in space, farther away from Earth, was much easier and more clear than they could do on the surface planet. Now, this was reported in good detail by the Defense Intelligence Agency in an official report that was eventually released, where they actually talked about the Soviet experiments and this particular result.
That is, I have never heard that. They did remote viewing experiments with cosmonauts. They actually sent people into orbit for this purpose.
Well, it was one of the many things they did, but they were not remote viewing experiments. They were telepathy experiments. And
because that's what they were doing at SRI. They were like, well, can we put them in a Faraday cage? Does that work? Or maybe we can put them in an isolation tank. Or maybe what happens if you do it underground? Or can you see through walls? And the Soviets were going into space trying to explore the same.
Yeah, and they had solid results. And I actually have a copy of the official report. You can get it on. You can Google it and actually find it on.
How much better results in terms of what they were getting?
The DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency report, was not specific about the details of the results, but they said it was a notable difference. But that was evidence that there was a size suppression field. In addition to genetic modifications of the people here, in addition to psychological warfare with psyops to keep everybody distracted, it's a combined effort. So that when I saw the 3i Atlas stuff coming in, I said, this smells a lot like some type of psyops. Now, that's a size suppression field plus information controlling people by distracting. It's like a magician. You do something with one hand to distract the audience while you're doing something with another. So there was evidence that something was going on. So we wanted to investigate, was it just a comet or was it something else? And in fact, we found out it was something else, and it was being run by the bad ETs. So it was part of a psyops run by the bad ETs. Now, there is a YouTube guy, it's very interesting, called Secure Team 10.
And
he just came out with a report that 3i Atlas is just, I think it was yesterday or just the other day, that 3i Atlas is still acting anomalously. So it's doing things that the authorities are not saying it shouldn't be able to do. So there.
Well, let me ask you this, Courtney. It's come through. It's made this bizarre pass through the solar system. It's on its way away from us now. So presumably, the best information we'll get is whatever we already have. I imagine that story at some point is going to die down. But looking forward to 2026, have you guys looked ahead at the year to come? Do you have any thoughts about what we can expect or what is in store?
That's what we do. We literally spend our time. We have a big operation here. Our monthly expenditures are around $30,000 a month. People here I don't get paid for anything, but everybody here gets. This is how they live, and we have full studios. So we're not wasting our time with this thing. So we have all that information. But there is something I want to add to the 3i Atlas thing. When 3i Atlas got as close as it was going to get, it had passed Jupiter and got as close as it was going to get to Mars. There are really good telescopes with no atmospheric problems at all orbiting Mars. I mean, NASA has the best of equipment there, and they pointed those things at 3i Atlas while it was going there. And Avi Loeb has talked about this and has been quite upset about this. The satellites broke as soon as the 3i Atlas got in there, and then there was a government shutdown, and they couldn't get the information out. So they have, and they still haven't released. And the shutdown's over, and the satellites they're still saying things are down. The point is, they have really good imagery. Avi Loeb has been talking about this. They obviously have really good imagery of 3i Atlas, really good, and they're not releasing it. That tells you right away there is something going on. Then it's part of a psyops. They're controlling the information for some, reason. And when we're looking at what 3i Atlas was intended to do, it was obviously, in my view, part of a psyops because it got everybody looking up rather than around.
One thing that occurred to me, it might have been a test to see how people would handle a very light touch of disclosure. Like if we did seriously start talking about maybe it is alien, what would people do?
Not necessarily, because it was clearly a ship rock thing that was being run by the bad ETs, and they don't want disclosure because they're doing things. They're basically running this planet as the largest human trafficking operation that has ever existed. Way worse, and human trafficking on this planet is horrible. It's huge. But the biggest thing of human. In fact, if you look at the big money generators on this planet, it's human trafficking, weapon sales, and drugs. Those are the three big ones. And human trafficking is the largest of all of them. So, but the biggest of all the human traffickers is the bad ETs because they're cycling through people like crazy. So it's not just me saying this. People like John Mack, David M. Jacobs, these are John Mack, former professor, late professor from Harvard, and now retired Professor David M. Jacobs. They've written books about the so-called abduction phenomenon. And David M. Jacobs, in particular, has written his latest book, Walking Among Us.
It's dark.
That was dark, and it was a really good description of the things that the bad ETs are doing. Now, he only focused on the bad ETs because he was focusing on the abduction phenomena, but it was a really good description of how deep the PSYOPs component actually is. So in 3i Atlas, go ahead.
Do you think that we're going to get any kind of disclosure in the coming years? I mean,
yes, but the reason is there's a battle going on now. It's a war. It's an information war. The good ETs are trying to actually foment a revolution from below. The bad ETs don't want it. Now, the bad ETs have also been heavily involved in the channeling community. Now, the channeling community has essentially established what we call a foothold. A foothold is when you get access to a small area. From that area, you can project attacks into the larger area.
Yeah.
Now, the channeling community has been heavily influenced by the bad ETs, and they don't know now. Now, the channels themselves, the human channels, are honestly, they are the best people on the planet Earth. They're honest, they're sincere, they're hardworking, everything. And that's precisely why they were chosen by the bad ETs to be funnels for the information that they're spewing out. So they're spewing out a lot of it is true, but they're spewing out a lot of very carefully orchestrated bad information that is designed to distract and dissuade people from understanding the real situation that's going on. So, the level of psychological control is huge. Farsight is essentially, and they told us point blank, we're being run by the good ETs. The good ETs have been heavily involved with us and our development, we have to make our own decisions and things like that. They don't control us, but everything, we follow what they do. We have regular monthly meetings with them that have going back for years. They were the ones who decided that these have to be video recorded and shown on public. They want no secrecy. And we were very opposed to that. We said, no, people will laugh at us. And
it is truly astonishing the amount of content that you guys put together, and you have documented everything to the finest detail up to, and this is something that I've mentioned before, and I'm going to do a standalone video on this. This project you've got called The Vault, which I find fascinating. We have to move on to the next topic, but could you quickly summarize what is The Vault for people, and then direct them to where they can go to learn more?
Yeah. On farsightprime.com, you have all the video content of all of our projects that we've ever done, which is that is the gold nugget of everything. However, people like to say, well, you have to watch videos to see that. And like, how do we know? And people are, and mainstream science people are, so glib in saying, oh, it's just new age crap, stuff like that. So they often say things like, you don't offer yourself up for scientific investigation of any of your claims. So what we did is we took all of our data for all of our projects and we constructed transcripts of every single word that was spoken by all of the remote viewers while they were totally blind to the target. Everything. And we put them up in what we call the vault. Now, these transcripts are actually data sets, and they're designed to be read, testable by AIs. Any AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you pick. And so these transcripts can be ingestible to it, and we have the transcripts that can be downloaded. So nobody can say to us that we are, hesitant to have our stuff investigated by scientific analysis. Scientists are just not investigating it because they're so scared shitless about what they would actually realize. It's the same thing about the interpretation of quantum mechanics. They're just resistant. Yeah. They're just resistant.
You have your own. This wasn't there a couple of weeks ago, I don't think. The Farsight Project's AI assistant. Is that your own AI built in?
Oh no, that's another level. So we have an AI assistant, our own AI, which is basically ChatGPT 5. But we have our own AI that's embedded in our website, both in the learning area for learning SRV, but also scientific remote viewing, but also in the vault. So people, instead of downloading the session transcripts, which they can still do, and then uploading them to ChatGPT or whatever to talk about these things, they can ask the AI assistant, which is ChatGPT, right there on the website. Well, what about this? What about that? Can you compare this? Compare that? And the AI or the ChatGPT will actually do all of it for you, so you don't have to go.
And it'll pull from the collected transcripts of all of these sessions and draw together the conclusions or connect the dots.
Yes, it's specifically been trained. Has been trained on all of our work, so that you can actually have conversations with it and analysis and stuff. Now, inside the transcripts, we also have statistics that are, all of our projects have verifiable stuff in them. So you have to, you can actually, and there's two things that could be compared. When you have multiple remote viewers, you look at the overlap. Multiple remote viewers under totally blind conditions, not communicating with one another, if they report the exact same thing, that's a very strong statistical result.
Yeah.
Now, similarly, a lot of the targets have, they all have something verifiable. For example, the Great Pyramid of Giza, that was actually built with ET tech, using human slaves, but using ET tech, where they levitated, floated the blocks into place, and cut them with lasers and things. Now you can sort of say, that's esoteric. It's all crazy. There's nothing verifiable here. And you say, no, you're stupid. There's something. What do you mean there's nothing verifiable? You've got 5 fucking pyramids. Sorry for the French, but you've got 5 pyramids on there in a desert with people running around with loincloths and camels. That's verifiable, and the remote viewers are actually reporting exactly that. They're drawing the pyramids exactly, the pyramid structures, the arrangement of the pyramids. What do you mean there's nothing verifiable?
Yeah.
So in addition to all the verifiable stuff, we get everything else, which is how the blocks were being moved, how they were being cut, the slave force that was being used as a labor force. We get all of information added to it. But you can't say that our work doesn't have verifiable stuff. They all has verifiable stuff. So anyway, and all of that is, you can...
And that's at Farsight Prime. Is that right?
No, the videos where you can actually watch everything are farsightprime.com. And that's the mother lode of everything. That's where people really have to see. And the videos are now made to be so... And we've never had a complaint that the things are too long and hard to watch.
They're cool. I saw that you've got this glass sort of see-through board that they are taking notations on. And
we use a light board often in our sessions, and what happens is, instead of watching people draw something on a piece of paper, you have a totally black background with a 6 foot by 6 foot piece of optical glass that costs us $6,000. And what happens is the light is shined into the glass, and it can't escape unless you write on it with a special marker. So it looks like the remote viewer is like writing in space and doing,
cool.
and it's really super cool. So it makes it cinematically interesting to actually watch.
Well, Courtney, I'm sorry to cut you off, but we have to move on, and we're a little bit short on time today. But the website for people at home is farsight.org. You can go there to check out the vault and use the AI assistant there to sort through all of the different materials that are there, and there are tons. It's an enormous resource. And farsightprime.com for the videos of these remote viewing sessions, and they are fascinating. Courtney, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with us today. And is there anything else you want to leave people with for 2026?
Oh, yes, 2026. 2025 was really a rough year for everybody. 2026 will be much worse. So if you want to follow what we're
the doom.
If you want to follow, we're trying to instigate a revolution on this planet, and that means that everything that's established, the power brokers has to be broken down so people can finally see what's really going on.
Last question, Courtney. Will the revolution be televised? I think is the question.
Well, they waited till this moment in human history where the internet was available and communications around the whole planet, and there was a large population base that's hard for the bad ETs to control because it's so large. They waited until this pregnant moment to spark this, and then they spent decades building Farsight to have to be a venue from which all the truthful information can be gotten. And they didn't go through channeling because there's nothing wrong with that menu, but that concept, they didn't want to be sort of one voice in a whole collection of thousands of voices that are being used by the bad ETs in the foothold. So they said they would be lost. So they said, let's make it so that no one has to trust anything. Let's develop a human group that actually shows people how to get this information themselves, shows the methods and makes it totally visible so that you don't have to believe anything. And then it's no longer a top-down hierarchical thing, believe this person, believe this. Yeah. It's a Be From Missouri type of thing, which is the show me state. If you look at a Missouri license plate, it says show me. They want you to be skeptical. In fact, the only real complaint I have with the human channels is they're gullible. I'm sort of saying, they want you to be skeptical and not gullible.
But 2026 is the year we got to watch out for. 2025 was just the warm up.
It's going to spill into 2027 as well. But 2026, 2026 is the beginning. is the beginning of a major set of shows.
I was.
You heard it,
for
guys. No end in
sight.
No
end in sight. Thank you, Courtney. We've got to wrap it there, but this has been awesome. Please come back again. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I'll come back whenever you ask. It's good to be here. Thanks, guys.
All right, pal.
Take care.
That's it, guys. You heard it. 2026, straight from Farsight. What do you think?
Doom off the chart at the end. I actually totally disagree. I actually feel very, very positive about this year. I'm feeling really good. Honestly,
You feeling really good?
I do, and that's very unlike me because I've been pretty bummery for a couple of years. But I feel very positive about this year. What about you guys?
Well, Pavel,
me too.
Yeah, welcome, Pavel. Hi, buddy.
Man?
Hi. Hi, Eric. Long time no see. How you doing?
Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, man. I see you've been in the mountains constantly, man. It's really nice to see that, man.
And by the way,
yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yes,
Eric's new spot is an absolute hotbed for UFO sightings and experiences. It's been off the charts for you.
It has since August. I moved into the San Luis Valley of Colorado the first day of August, and since August 7, I've been seeing some very interesting things in the sky, which remain inexplicable.
What is the population there after you moved?
Well, yes, it's a small town when you and your girlfriend move and the population increases by 2%. So we're now...
That's how far out
we're now up to 108.
108.
108.
New Austin.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Pavel, you started the year with a bang. Please talk to me about the Burleson interview. What information have you got for us? Because I think a lot of people probably haven't got that information yet because everyone's been crazy busy, myself included. I don't know what he said specific. I don't know the specifics. I know the vague stuff, but please, that was a great interview by all accounts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The way it went though is that in the morning when I was about to have him on, I ran out of power, no electricity at my house, so I had to improvise and try and fix it. I managed to pull it off. I did tell him that it was possibly going to be canceled, but I managed to pull it off. And when we started talking, the first topic that we spoke about was this drama that's going on. I really don't want to talk about that, but the most important aspects that I think were covered were that there's a new whistleblower that is already talking to him and people from Congress, and they seem really excited about this person. And it seems to be, I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but I did ask him that potentially it could be somebody with firsthand information and probably evidence. He said that it was the best whistleblower to date. And I mean, we've had some of the best are Grush, and we know Dylan Borland and Matthew Brown. So, what could this guy possibly have that makes Burleson say that? That made me.
Pavel, what do you, when you hear something like that, like what is the next step though? What happens if someone comes to Burleson and is able to make the case convincingly, like, I'm a firsthand witness, I saw this is where it's at, this is what's going on. Did you get any idea from him about what happens next to enforce on that?
I don't know if they're gonna keep doing hearings, which I think should happen every year. We should have one, and the better the witness, the more important and influential that hearing will be. For example, if at a certain point, because last year James Lakatsky seemed like he wanted to talk more, contrary to the previous years, if they get him on the stand, I think that would be very, very interesting. I think that also getting somebody who didn't sign NDAs but has direct contact with people from the legacy program or something similar to that extent, like when I heard people saying that we need to talk to the janitor that saw a craft and wasn't forced to stay quiet. That's something that I would be interested in seeing too.
This is what he said.
Yeah, no. This is just my response to your question. For me, what should happen is that they should already go to the places, get evidence to those places, and subpoena the people that don't want to be subpoenaed. Like, I think that is what needs to happen next, and hopefully Burleson thinks so too. Honestly, and this is something that I've been struggling forever since I got in this place. It's that politics is really messy, and they don't really give you a specific straight answer, even though I know Burleson is in the right place. He's very curious. He's honest about the way he's pursuing this, I think. But it becomes really difficult because they also have to play this game, this dance of politics within the UFO topic as well. So it becomes difficult. I don't know what's next. I know that they're talking to this whistleblower, but I don't know if more hearings are going to come or they're actually going to go knock on doors. I don't know.
They need to articulate the what's next part for people so that, because I feel like that's so murky and opaque. Like there was this guy in May, NASA flight surgeon Greg Rogers. This was in Newsweek, and NASA flights. You guys all remember this story. Yep. He was the flight surgeon at Cape Canaveral, and he goes to a appointment where he is in this I guess part of the base that he's on, and he's supposed to be doing an exam for somebody to sign off on some paperwork, and he gets pulled into a room. I've got the Newsweek article here. Ex-NASA official breaks decades-long silence on flying saucer. So here you got a guy who is a NASA flight surgeon on active duty, at the Cape Canaveral facility. He's called into a room and he's shown a flying saucer on a screen by another officer. He didn't sign an NDA. This guy didn't sign shit. He just was like, oh, okay. And then he left. And he wasn't even threatened. He just he wasn't supposed to see it, but he walked out, didn't say anything for 25 years or whatever. And now here he is. Why? What I want to know is like Burleson and Luna and all of these people, they want a firsthand witness, but this is a guy who's got impeccable bona fides. Like, why not bring him in? He's on Newsweek. He's doing all these podcasts.
He just went through a really dangerous surgery. Luckily he's like recovering, but I've been talking to him a little bit on DMs. I'm trying to get him on the show, but yeah, that's the type of people that I think we need. Like, for example, that Brad Sorensen and Mark McCandlish story. Those are the stories that I think are the most interesting, because it's people that are really just peripherally, maybe, or even not involved in this, but they're not like at the top, like controlling this narrative or signing NDAs or trying to hide stuff from people. They're like stumble upon something that was unexpected, and that's what makes it the most interesting, and that's what makes them the most compelling too.
I think that testimony is really important, but I'm also trying to think, what's Congress specifically trying to achieve? And I think they're probably trying to stop illegal activity taking place where they're not getting correct congressional oversight. So whilst I agree those are the most interesting stories, they're kind of probably going after the really boring, like the paperwork side of stuff that's literally...
And the money.
Yeah,
but
what is their enforcement mechanism? That's what I don't understand. Like, I would love to know from Burleson, like, what does Congress have in terms of power to actually go in? Like, do you need the Justice Department to get a bunch of, like, 100 lawyers to dig through every single fucking file cabinet and find out where all the receipts are? Do you what does it take if you go, and what is the threshold for Congress to go, okay, we have enough. We've heard from 100 people now. 75 of them are all saying the same thing. They're all like, impeccably credentialed, and what now? What?
I think it's a case that they have the right, and they could say like, well, yeah, you have to show us that you have to show us the technology, and those guys could just go, they could just say, well, yeah, sure, come by anytime you like, and it's like, I don't know where you are. Like,
Right.
like they will just they have
Right.
no idea where to look. They have the right to look anywhere.
They'll never find it.
They'll never find
Never
it. It's
find
been
it. They will
pigeonholed
never be
away.
shown ever.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's just
asked-
the whole point, right? Because then otherwise you're left with this sort of like whistleblower theater hour that every fucking couple of months a new guy pops out of the woodwork and he's like, guess what I saw? It's going to blow your mind. And we're all like, oh my God, it blows my mind. And then it's like, we're right back as the one and nobody's doing anything. And I feel like that's just, that to me was like the thing in 2025 that by the end of the year, to be perfectly honest, just as a YouTube content creator and a podcaster, I was feeling really burnt out, guys, on this whole thing, because I'm just like, dude, there's no end to it. I feel like the story is always fascinating, and I'm always here for that. And the story of individual people's stories are each fascinating in their own way. But in terms of like pursuing some kind of closure or even measurable progress, I don't even know what we're looking for at this point.
Yeah.
Dan,
It's difficult. Yeah, I don't know. I've said it before, but I feel like it would take getting some kind of army to go force entry into some sort of holding facility, but whatever that facility is has better weapons, better soldiers than anything we could possibly go knocking on the door with. I'm curious, Eric, since you have kind of a background with some military knowledge, how could that possibly work? What kind of team would you have to put together to get into Dugway Proving Ground or to get into any of these kind of places? How do you do that?
Yeah, I've thought about this. Well, to begin with, the military can't take part in active law enforcement. They don't enforce the law, and that's the posse comitatus part of U.S. law. And I've thought about this too. Like, all right, if we find out that Lockheed or whoever has this technology, who do we send? I
what I
don't
mean.
know.
Right.
And under what justification under law because it is a private business, right? So I'm not saying it would be morally wrong to secure this advanced technology for the benefit of mankind, humankind. I think we're all in agreement with that. But you just can't kind of go rogue and grab it. So I'm unfamiliar of how this would even unfold under this bureaucracy. I just don't even know if it's possible.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. I can't imagine a scenario where you show up and they're like, we have a search warrant, and they're like, oh, well, I didn't realize. Come on in, it's over here. It's kind of
I think you have to. Honestly, guys, I think the only thing that would even work at this stage would be something like, you would need a guy as crazy as Donald Trump to be like, guess what? I'm going to take this week, and I am going to take a bunch of cameras with me, and I'm going to take, I don't know, a bunch of Marines, and we're going to go to Area 51, and I want to see some shit. I want to go into every room. I want to, and go ahead and open fire on a bunch of U.S. Marines and the United States presidential entourage. What do you like?
Burleson,
what else?
They would. I think they would. I don't think
Burleson did mention that he was trying to get to go to these places with JD Vance. I don't know if that will happen, but he did mention that he's talking to JD already about this, and I thought that was interesting. I don't know if they will do it, but I mean, JD is probably the next biggest thing after Trump, right?
You know, they've done this before as well. We did it with Fort Knox. People didn't believe there was any gold in Fort Knox, so governors went in with cameras to get the evidence. Like, we have the ability to just walk in. It's just whether or not, I think the trouble is, like, they just don't know whether the tech that they might catch on camera is, they don't know the implications of it. I don't think
you have to at some point call the bluff, right? Like, if this is poker, if that's the game that we're all playing here, and it's like, well, who's got what? And maybe these people have, no one knows. That's the truth. No one knows. Even the left hand and the right hand don't really know what each other is doing. And so this whole notion that is used to explain away why we don't hear any new information. You hear people like Lou Elizondo and others go, well, it's all classified for very good reasons. But then out of the other side of their mouth, they'll go, but they don't tell everybody everything, and they don't tell all the presidents everything. And so you go, well, then no one has a full picture.
Right.
So we're left in this sort of like gray space, this sort of opaque gray space of like, well, then I guess someone's going to have to call their bluff at some point, and you're just going to have to show up and fucking audit these people. Like, go up their ass with a bunch of IRS agents and FBI guys. Like, it needs to be, suits and handcuffs. I don't know what else to do. Like,
but even if we do that, like, even if you get access to the most secured holding facility in the deepest dumb in the country, you have to think about how many hidden rooms and corridors and cloaking technology and places to hide these things. And if we do have ARVs that can move instantaneously, when someone's coming in, they can just like pop up into the atmosphere and just hide it in space for a couple hours. I mean, I think there's no way we get to a point where you can actually see almost anything unless someone at Northrop Grumman or BAE or Lockheed, someone goes rogue and says, I'm sick of this. I'm the head of this. Here's the fucking shit. Enough of this. I'm done. That's the only way I think we'd be able to see anything.
And don't forget as well, especially when it comes to dumbs, you get there and the first thing you have to do basically is get into a big metal elevator suspended by wires. And you don't control that elevator. And, if they want that elevator to just, never open again, they can do that if they want to.
That's what I've said. You guys know what a kill box is, right?
Yeah.
So basically,
that's why you'd have to use the public facing side of this as your shield. You'd have to go in and be like, I'm going in with 150 Marines and 75 people with cameras, and we're all going in together, plus the director of the FBI and 150 field agents, and we're all, how messy does this have to get?
Let's play that out. So let's say they do that, and it starts an actual firefight that whoever's going in those people are going to lose the firefight. So let's say they go in and they shoot all these FBI agents and all these military folks. Now maybe that's our new government. Maybe that's now the new powers of the world. Maybe that's how that's the switch where it's like, now we're in charge. You guys came here. Now we're in charge. We have all the shit. We have all the good stuff. Like, we tried to play nice. I don't know.
We're also assuming that we know or have an idea of who is really in control.
I don't think anybody knows who's in control.
So that's my thing. Like, what if not even humans are in control, right? Or governments, you know?
Yeah, sure.
What if?
Well, you look at like just an everyday person, an everyday guy like Putin, right? Like, it looks like he's in control, but that guy is probably the most terrified dude in the world. He never knows when his fucking butler is going to assassinate him, or when the lady cleaning the bathroom is going to poison him, or who. Saddam Hussein had like 30 doubles. They had plastic surgery to look just like him, and he would send them out to different houses, and he would never sleep in the same place 2 times in a row. So like, I imagine, to your point, Pavel, the fear at the top level of like, well, maybe somebody else knows something I don't know. That's got to be super palpable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all uncertainty.
Yeah.
And they gamify that.
The best way I think that this is going to unclot, because it's basically that's what's happening. It's going to have to be through somebody who, goes rogue.
Right.
And who doesn't ascribe to whatever the controlled narrative is at that time. But it becomes difficult, because I've been trying to flesh out a lot of this on the channel, that there are parts of this puzzle and the people involved in the disclosure movement that they just want it to happen in a way specifically. And I don't think it's going to go down the way they want, because there's a lot of people opposing that. And we don't even know, by subscribing to this controlled idea, we don't even know what the ramifications of it will be when it happens. So naturally, there's going to be pushback from people like me, from people like people who are not aware of everything that's going on. There's always going to be pushback, and it's not going to go exactly as those guys think it is, I think.
There was a report that was put out to Congress, this annual report on military and security developments involving the People's Republic of China. And they had war-gamed out if there was a conflict between the United States and the Chinese in the South China Sea and over Taiwan. And they found out that 100% of the time, America loses its ass. And they basically turned China, the Chinese coast, into a hypersonic missile factory. And they've pointed all of those hypersonic missiles at the water, and they're waiting for American aircraft carriers to roll in. And if that were to happen, they could sink all of our aircraft carriers. It's like it's like a bloodbath. And Pete Hegseth talked about it, and there was a report in the Washington Post about it a few weeks ago. And so my understanding is the Americans don't even have really functional hypersonic missiles. And if we are to expect a coming conflict between the United States and China, and our existing naval fleet is obsolete and ill-suited for that task, then it makes sense to me that if you had an ace up your sleeve, that would be when you'd see it. If we go to war with China, you'll see some UFO.
We have aces.
Yeah, you'll see UFO technology used, or maybe you won't see it used. You'll just see
all of a sudden the war's just over. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I think we.
Well, dude, you just had a stealth bomber fly over your house.
You're goddamn right, I did.
That was crazy, bro.
That was so awesome. I can't even put it into words. I don't think I've ever seen one in person before. But the Rose
somebody
Bowl.
got a 20 kill streak on Call of Duty. Right.
It was so neat, man. Yeah.
Something you said earlier, Pavel, is that it's not going to go the way they want it to go. I kind of agree. I think it will be a case of a form of disclosure will happen. I believe it will be a level of controlled disclosure by elements of certain legacy programs or whatever, probably delivered by the president. But I think at the same time, we will still be here being conspiracy theorists. I still think we will be on the sidelines saying, no, the president is lying about that specific detail. Like, he's not telling you everything. He's giving you the milquetoast version of what is really going on. And I think even after disclosure, we will probably still be here on night shift, like trying to fight for like the actual disclosure that we want.
So the only thing that I think could be different than what you just told me is when I got that clip of Dylan, of Jeff Nucitelli talking about Dylan on Soul.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to release it because I thought it was a very important piece of information that he actually is the dead man switch for a lot of people. And that is still the case, though, I think. So
wait, explain that again.
So Jeff Nucitelli was on Soul talking about Dylan Borland, who didn't attend Soul, who was supposed to be part of the schedule, but something happened that he couldn't. I think it was a scheduling conflict. And Jeff did speak about Dylan. He said that Dylan became the dead man switch for a lot of people that are involved in this. And I think that's an important data point because for me, and I did a video yesterday about this, that Dylan did not go through the Dobser process. He hasn't gone through it. So to me, that's very, very important because if he does have information that he can release at any point and something happens that forces him to release it, that is going to be pretty significant in my opinion. And it would be for me, and he's been tweeting about it too, that's what catastrophic disclosure would be, but it wouldn't be catastrophic for the people. It would be catastrophic for all of these agencies and the people that are trying to make it happen controllably and little by little and all that. And I think that people should pay more attention to that as well, because it's like you just need a little spark to light the fuse, and it can get really, really hectic really fast.
Hey, Clint, how much time do we have here?
As much as we want. I mean,
I'm good. So.
We had a conversation.
I might go get a cold one and then come back.
You want to do that?
I do actually.
Do it because
I'll be right back.
Okay. Don't tempt me with a good time, Clint.
I want to talk about Masons. I want to talk about Freemasons for a minute.
What was I about to say? It was gonna be kind of good. Can't remember. Never mind.
About Dylan?
That was it. So yeah, he said maybe he's got a dead man. He's the dead man switch for multiple people. So I'm assuming like if anything happens to them, he's the man that releases.
Yeah.
Or to him too, I guess, because he's also
a lot of those guys have a plan in place where something gets released if something happens. Mm-hmm. The journalists, George and Jeremy have those. I think all those guys have those things.
Ross has it too.
Yeah,
I've got one. She's
really?
She's 3 years old.
Oh, cool.
Buried it in her dreams.
Oh, boy.
She'll discover them when she's 30. So you said what Dylan may release, or if anything like that were to ever happen, it could be catastrophic for not us, the public, but catastrophic for the legacy program. I'm wondering how that could potentially. No,
not the legacy program. The control system that exists today in the world. He spoke about the petrodollar.
The bad ETs.
He spoke about the petrodollar, essentially.
Right. Yeah. So I'm wondering.
That would be it.
I'm wondering how that looks for us. So, like, if obviously if we're talking like what that information might be, it would be 0 point energy. Like, for example, that would absolutely collapse the petrodollar. Like, overnight, it would be in our entire world economy is built on coal right now and fossil fuels. So the introduction of free limitless energy does destroy all of that instantly. How does that? I'm trying to get to how is that still good for us?
It probably wouldn't be.
Yeah, it would. It would still be turbulent no matter what. I want it to happen in some gross, horrible way, I'm sure, but like, Because I
the
want
switch
everyone
over?
to have that. Yeah, I want it to be non-turbulent, but I don't see it not
There's
being.
no way it won't
Yeah.
be turbulent.
It's
No matter what the
terrifying.
info is, no matter how well it's delivered, no matter how good it's laid out with like here, this, the adjustment to a whole new way of living and creating energy is gonna be years. I mean, best case scenario, years. Worth it in the end, but scary as fuck while it's happening, and just like confusing and like. So do we still pay for fuel? Do we not? Like it's gonna be nuts.
Just think about the more prosaic scenarios. For example, let me give you just one example out of many that have happened throughout history. Earthquakes. In Chile, when an earthquake happens, which in Chile they happen a lot. There's a lot of stuff that goes down there when earthquakes happen. They happen, and the lights go out. The energy grid goes completely down, and people have the necessity to put out fires outside of their streets, outside of their blocks, just to take care of the households, because there's always people trying to break into their households, and
Yeah.
and the doom meter is going to blow up by me talking about this, I know, but that's just a prosaic explanation, like a prosaic situation. I think that this would be like tenfold if catastrophic disclosure does happen,
Yes.
because it will be worldwide, not just in a specific location.
People get. It doesn't take long for people to, realize they've got no water, and they've got. Oh, this is so doom.
Let's talk. I mean, it's important. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, it is important. I really do think it is, and it's not just UAP related. At the end of the day, you have at some point, like my daughter is the most important thing that exists on this planet right now. Dan, I love you, but I'd kill you to keep her alive.
I was going to ask you. I was going to say just now. I was going to say that you and Clint are both fathers, and if I was standing between you and your kids for eating food,
I'd rip your eyeballs out.
Exactly, and that's everybody.
And that's fair dues. Like,
thank you, by the way. That's very kind to hear on the second day of the new year.
But
you go for the painless kill.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't.
Start with my eyes.
His eyes out.
I want the eyes. I want him to suffer.
Double tap.
But to save you that pain, I've got a supply of water. I have personally a supply of water. I'm not telling you where I live. But it's not going to take long for my neighbor, who is perfectly kind, to run out of water and go looking elsewhere. And basically, if it's a choice between water or death, she's going to do whatever it takes to get the water. And that's going to, you need water within a couple of days or you're done. That's how.
Well, that's why we have such a cultural fetish with zombie movies, because we're so far removed from our survival functions as human beings. We actually sort of fantasize, I think, about the idea of what would it be like if it all went to hell and we could just be like, fuck it, I'm doing whatever I want. And it's not good. The thing is, it's and those places exist. There are places in the world, you could go to Somalia where there are places in America where you can go where it's basically a free for all and whatever. You don't want to live in that world. And I heard
New Jersey.
It was on Neil Brennan's podcast. Scott Galloway was talking about bunkers, some of these CEOs, AI CEOs, and how they're all across the board, they're all really, really comfortable with the bunker situation. Bros. They're bunker bros. And he was just like, what do you think people are going to do when you're in your bunker and they know you've got a lot of food and water and they're starving and they're thirsty and they've got kids? Where do you think they're going to go? How long can you convince your security detail to follow your orders before they get hungry and thirsty? And it was like, well, I know Zuckerberg does jujitsu, but how many people do you think you can beat in a row before they come get you?
I would love a shot at Zuckerberg.
Oh, fucking all these guys, but
it'd be fun.
What I'm driving at, and I guess to tie it back to what you were saying, Pavel, is that it's like the people who, I think the situation we're in is way weirder than people really know. And I think if they understood that, aside from the fact that the UFO stuff that we know is happening is actually happening, right? Like that's actually happening in the background. And there's all these different forces at work. Peter Thiel and JD Vance are very closely tied to this. I mean, a lot of the Silicon Valley guys are. The average American doesn't know this at all. And these tech people have kind of invented their own fucked up weird religion where, like, in their version of events, they become godlike. They don't just invent AGI and then like turn it over to the rest of us and like we all just go on with our day. They continue their version of events is they own it, and it works for them. And they have this demon or this genie in a bottle, and they can summon it like a sorcerer, and they can basically achieve immortality, overcome the limitations of being human. Eventually upload their own consciousness into some kind of AI cloud, and then it is a technological way of describing the exact same religious outcome that almost every religion aspires to or tries to describe, I think. And you've got all these, and these are the people who are really running things at the top. They've got all the predictive algorithms. They've got all the data. They know they have better information than probably the president on what people are going to do and how they think. And dude, they fucking know. I'm wearing an Apple Watch right now. They know my heart rate. They know how my heart rate changes, my breath rate, my blood oxygen level when I listen to a different song, or that kind of fucking power is in the hands of a very small group of people. And the ability of your AI to gain your trust is the most like black swan, darkest element of this. And I notice it myself with my own like interactions with AI over time on a long enough timeline. I see it with my kid, right? Like I grew up in an era where the robots, like the best robots on TV were like the Cylons and R2-D2. And it was like, then when you see really good robots, it's like, I have a frame of reference now to see how far we've come. My son is growing up in a world where that's normal.
He's just seen the Daleks from Doctor Who, hasn't he? He's just seen those
the Daleks. Things. Why are people are so afraid of the Daleks? My son is used to talking to a computer in a human voice, getting a response and having a conversation. I don't let him do it, but like, he's not talking to ChatGPT or anything, but he'll ask Siri for something or whatever. And I just see like 10, 20, 30 years from now, who do you think's really going to be overtly running the show? The idea of a government almost is irrelevant. It's these tech bros. That's why JD Vance is the vice president, and he's also Peter Thiel's pick to be be the vice president. And it's what I think, Marco Rubio and all of these tech people are so in cahoots. They want this technology.
Yeah.
They're the only people that believe they're going to be able to wield it.
And it's funny how Gallagher, when he wasn't at that hearing, he seemed very well informed in the topic. Oh, yeah. And not even a month later, it's like he went to work for Palantir. I'm like, come on, dude.
We even talked about the fact that Donald Trump's Trump Media, his social media company.
Oh my God.
With a $6 billion merger with a fucking nuclear fusion company. What?
Yeah. That happened while I was gone. And I think you guys were all taking that story apart in the chat. What was that about? Was this related to that fusion researcher who died? And was it like Tribeca?
The fusion, the merger happened, I think, 2 days after that MIT plasma researcher was shot in the face.
The news broke of the guy who got killed, but he got killed 2 days before. But when the news broke, like 5 hours later, the news about Trump broke. It wasn't the same day. The news,
So this guy gets assassinated in a upscale neighborhood in, was it Massachusetts? Where was it? It was like a really.
I have friends who lived a block away from this guy.
He's 41 years old. He's a young guy. Apparently, I didn't read much on him, but what I did read was that he was like basically into some super unorthodox ideas that were bearing fruit. Yeah. And it was like leading to classified areas of physics, possibly.
Like Amy Eskridge, like all these, this happened, there's a precedent for this kind of stuff before.
So this really guy falls on a bullet a couple of times. He's assassinated, right? Or he's murdered. And then 48 hours later, it breaks that Donald Trump's social media company,
Truth Social, basically,
which is based in my hometown, weirdly, like a mile away from where I live, At least it was a year ago. That company merges with a fusion company from Saudi Arabia for a $6 billion deal. That makes no fucking sense.
0 cents. It's almost like someone's trying to make money off stuff that they know exists and is inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah.
A fusion. So what do you think's inevitable?
That this information, the reality of either advanced physics or advanced sciences or alien tech will be going public at some point. And we've talked about it for years, is that a big part of holding back is because they're waiting to find a way to monetize this and to be able to actually turn it into, because free energy is not good for the pocketbook for
it's not going to be free.
Right, exactly. And that's the bullshit part.
But you manage the energy. You manage the flow of it. You know, you become a logistics company and you basically say, look, our goal is to solve the problem of delivering clean, free energy to every person on Earth. Okay, well, we have this like outdated idea that everything is supposed to make fucking money somehow. At the end, it's got to make a shitload of money or it's not worth doing. And it's like, well, an old growth forest doesn't make a shitload of money for anybody, but it does a hell of a lot more than most people.
I was talking last night with a mutual friend of Pavel and I's, and we were talking about Masons. And I'm not very good at Masons or the Knights Templar and all that kind of stuff. But the conversation I'll read a quote of what he said. A friend of his said, who is a Mason, said that the Masons, Templars have ancient tech, 6 out of 10 Arks of the Covenant, that they are about to reveal to us. He says it's part of disclosure. The arcs are ancient energy generators that, when placed at different points on the planet, they produce a network of free energy for everybody. And that
can we shout him out? I love that guy, man.
I don't think he would. I don't know. You tell me. But he should be on here sometime.
I don't think he would mind.
Chad Ackerman from Brew FOs, awesome dude. Do you know him at all?
I don't know him, but I know of the show. Yeah, I know Brew.
He's wonderful. Yeah. But he's interviewed these couple guys who are deep in the Masons, and that seems to be their plan. Is it like over this year and next year, kind of release this information that the Freemasons have about this ancient free energy tech? Again, it's all sci-fi type stuff, but we're talking about.
Where are you guys on Freemasons? Like the idea, just the general notion of.
I know almost nothing. I'm so in the dark on it.
Eric knows something.
Eric
is one.
I did have a smirk, but I was just thinking, the conversation that's unfolded in the last 10 minutes. This is why I can only do this like once every 6 weeks. It's just
all stressed out.
Yeah. And I have 2 beers this time. It's
a double fisting. So good to have you back.
I don't know anything about the Masons, but of course I was listening to you. But we're at a stage in the conversation. There was a great comment in the chat, and it just said the doom meter went plaid.
The doom meter went plaid. That's
so that is great. But no, this Freemason thing, I don't know anything about it. The free energy thing is just, why not just say it? It's insane. But could this be true? I don't know.
I mean, we talk about some pretty wild shit here. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know where my belief is on that, but I'm open to all things. Take in information, store it away somewhere, and just kind of see how things unfold.
I'm partial to I think of it like this. You said earlier, like we talk about conspiracy theories, and I've always resisted the idea of conspiracy theory as a thing, because it seems so obvious that powerful interests would, with things in common, would get together and make deals, right? It's like in any other endeavor, the way things work makes total sense to all of us, right? Like, oh yeah, of course a bunch of billionaires got together, loaned each other a bunch of money, built a ton of data centers, like now they're all making trillions, and like, of course that's how it works. Palantir, of course these guys were all CIA guys and now they're running their own private security. Of course that's what, but there's like this weird wall where like almost behind this wall or beyond this certain point, people go, well, I just can't believe they would get that weird. that it would be that strange. And I wonder, like, if you are asking me, is there a group of people that maybe have gotten together throughout across the centuries and, like the Bene Gesserit in Dune, figured out like the preservation of a very specific type of knowledge is a key critical asset, and this group is dedicated to that purpose, and our goal is to make sure that that information gets transmitted and protected from one century to the next, and we have a group of people that are trained to that task. Well, isn't that kind of what archivists at the Catholic Church would do? Or, like, these things happen. So the idea that there might be a clandestine group of Masons that is like doing that, and they're holding on to this UFO technology, doesn't strike me as weird.
Not UFO tech necessarily. I don't know for sure, but it might just be an older civilization that has disappeared. It doesn't necessarily have to be UFO tech. It could be like a civilization that collapsed or something.
A huge truth that would change the day-to-day lives of most people in a meaningful way.
Yep.
I would think that when the Tesla stuff happened, when they went an entirely different route, if there were older civilizations that went through the exact same moment to choose which road they were going to take, I would think that older civilizations may have taken a different road than we did. And maybe that's why some of this old technology may be linked to that road that they took. Because had we taken Tesla's road, things would have been different, I think, probably in terms of energy. And
well, that's what, to his credit, Stephen Greer's documentary, and I use that term loosely, his video called The Lost Century, was basically that. He was like, that Tesla, that moment really represented where we kind of stopped, and we could be a century ahead of where we, in some areas. But even the idea of like free energy, the limitations in our imagination, I think, is the defining problem here, right? Like the idea that there can only be one correct outcome, and that correct outcome has to fit within the dominant economic system of the United States, because that somehow supersedes all of these other truths and facts. And I think that at bottom, that must be what motivates these two groups. One group believes that, and the other group is like, well, that can't be. Right? We've got to move on. I feel like it's worth it at some point. You got to just rip the Band-Aid off.
It's important we try and find out or theorize what free energy actually means, because people talk about renewable energy, and that actually means a lot of different things as well. So when I talk about 0-point energy, I'm talking about the quantum vacuum, which is it's a confirmed state. The quantum vacuum is a real thing. You can technically draw energy from it. It's just a very small, very, very small amount of energy. You have to put in far more energy to actually get any energy out of the 0-point energy field.
Because of our limitations, or it's just not possible? Okay.
Well, according to theoretical physics, it is impossible.
No matter what.
It's a tiny doorway that no matter how much energy you throw at it, you can only get stuff through that little tiny doorway. And you're getting a trickle, if anything, from it, and it's nothing you can ever use. But that's just a current understanding of physics. That changes century to century. So I have no problem with that idea. But it's just, are we talking about 0-point energy as in that true, limitless, the virtual particles that make up the quantum vacuum that really is limitless? Have we found a way to tap that? As Richard Doty would say, it draws the power it requires rather than it being a set amount of energy. Do you just switch this thing on, and however much you need, the field just gives it to you because that's the energy source? Or are we talking about something like fusion, which is, for all intents and purposes, limitless as well, because you just need hydrogen, or heavy hydrogen, which is abundant, and we will never run out of it, and it's very powerful. But they are two very different things, and they have two very different outcomes as well. So I'm wondering, some fusion company has just invested in Truth Media
Social.
or whatever.
Trump Media.
Trump Media.
Are we missing something when it comes to fusion? I know that there's the old saying, fusion is always 30 years away.
No,
but really,
your answer is yes. That is your answer.
You know something that puzzles me still to this day, because there's that article from Politico from like 2011, 2012 about the Trump family and this Ingersoll Lockwood guy. Is that real? Like, did that guy really exist, or was that just like a prepared psyop?
You're talking
to
about
make
Trump's
people-
like grandfather who sent
No.
him in to go into
he is involved,
Tesla's
yeah.
apartment.
Yeah. That's John G. Trump. But there is this writer, and I don't know if this is a
That guy.
psyop or not, called Ingersoll Lockwood from the early 1900s, who writes about a kid called Baron Trump and his adventures, his time traveling adventures. And
I saw this.
there's another book called The Last President that is like a continuation of that. And they talk about this family and they mentioned the Trump Tower, and it's like, what? And on Wikipedia you can look for Ingersoll Lockwood, and he actually is on Wikipedia. I don't know if it's real or not. I don't know if it's a psyop. It smells like a psyop, but that Political article is real. It's there. You can still find it today. And I did a video about this last year, and that makes me think about that quite a bit. It's like, so does Trump have like information beforehand like that, and that's why he's making these moves?
Well, I think Trump is your not canary in the coal mine, but he's sort of like the compass. Like you can look at him. Everybody knows he takes fucking bribes, right? Like this guy has his own cryptocurrency that you can buy. And when you buy it, the value of the cryptocurrency goes up. So you can literally like put money in Saudi Arabia and it just fucking goes into his pocket. And no one's looking at this. No one gives a shit. He totally got away with it. This guy is willing to make a deal with anybody who will pay him. And I think when you see stuff like that happen, you should especially business related stuff like a $6 billion merger. Like how is that not the biggest news ever?
Just came and went.
Why is that not why is that not huge? The sitting president of the United States just got a $6 billion energy deal with a private Saudi Arabian company. Well, dude, 20 years ago, they would have burned the fucking White House down over that shit. Like that would have been
with the emoluments.
Now we're so used to hearing crazy shit every day. We're just like,
his name is probably not on the paperwork for the company. I'm sure that it's some kind of like, it's his son or his nephew or whoever the fuck. It's probably not right now his company. He will absolutely be benefiting financially from it immensely.
But it's still a huge scandal. Absolutely. Like you have access to the best intelligence in the world, and now you're making deals with private companies that you have inside information about. Like, obviously that happens throughout like the federal government, but if at the presidential level, I just the other day watched Clear and Present Danger. I was on the flight back from Peru, and I watched Clear and Present Danger, where they send out Willem Dafoe into the jungle, and he's got the guy from Tuco from Breaking Bad, and they're the sniper, and they assassinate this drug cartel with a fighter jet, and they drop a missile on this compound, and they kill all of these South American drug guys, and it is a global fucking media event. It is such a big deal. They made, this movie is all about how fucking huge that would be. And we're doing that as an official matter of government policy now every day.
Yeah.
Every week. And no one gives a shit. No one really cares. And then the media is not talking about it. They really don't. Something gargantuan just happened. That fusion thing is that should be the biggest story of the year.
It blew my fucking brain out the back of my head, and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, oh that's crazy, huh?" Anyway, what are you doing for New Year's? It's like, wait, hold on a second.
For people who don't know who are watching, like we're in this like, there are a number of group chats and various people in various chats, but there's one particular group chat that I was in with these guys, and I was on my trip, and I was kind of out of the loop on all this stuff, but I woke up in the morning and was in my hotel and I looked at my phone and I'm reading this headline and I'm in the bathroom and I'm like, I sent it to Dan and he's like, oh yeah, you didn't know about that. And so we're sending these things back. And in real time, this chat group is breaking down this story and they're like, wait, so this guy is assassinated. And then 2 days later, this happens and they're related. And this whole thing is all tied together. And I'm sitting there like my brain is dripping out of my ear. And I'm like, how is not, this should be the biggest thing ever. And I totally spaced on it until we just sat down again and you mentioned it. But God,
that's why I want to bring it up early. And then, that we had the middle of the show where, we didn't talk about anything like that. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And I really don't know why it's not like on 60 Minutes and on everything and asking questions at the White House of like, I have a question. What the fuck is this all about? It's crazy. It's really, really nuts.
The idea that there might be a fusion breakthrough that surfaces in the next 2 to 5 years. And it was like, if fusion arrived 10, 15 years ahead of schedule or ahead of expected delivery, and one company had like some kind of breakthrough thing that they were able to, I don't know, deploy first.
I just sent both of you the article from Politico so you guys can see it because it's very real. And when I read it the first time, I was like, this has to be a psyop. Like, it's just too on the nose, too many coincidences. And the drawings are there. Like the books seem like they actually exist, and this guy seemed like he actually existed. So you connect that to whatever happened with Tesla and John G. Trump when Tesla died, with all of his work. That John G. Trump was the very first person on that room, who knows what he took, from Tesla. So.
And they were like, what was in there? And he's like, nothing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Didn't make any sense.
Bunch of nonsense.
2017, that was.
I will link this in the Discord chat for all to read later. It's a long one, so we won't go through it today, but that sounds amazing.
Well, what if you were the sitting president of the United States, and what if you had exclusive deals with all of the top tech billionaires in the American sphere of influence, right? Up to and including everybody
Just
at Google.
Hypothetically,
if you had all these guys like totally wrapped around your finger and they were building data centers like crazy, and they said the number one thing that is bottlenecking everything they're doing is electricity. Wouldn't it be weird if you suddenly had a $6 billion deal with a Saudi Arabian fusion company? That would be really strange. Like almost connected in a way. I don't know.
Weird, huh?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just a guy.
Boys, he really is Biff from Back to the Future.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Gray's Sports Almanac.
You would be able to approve, your government would be able to approve the licensing and fast tracking of the construction of those fusion facilities. You would be able to basically set the terms for everything that happens for the next 50 years and make money selling energy to the tech companies forever.
So this time last year, Duma Friday didn't exist, and whilst we were working together, I don't think we really had the Avengers that like we have these days. So we didn't ask this question last year, but I feel like I want to ask it this year, which is, what conversation do you think we'll be having this time next year?
Wow, that's a good question. Wow, that's a good question.
Could it be, what conversation do we hope we'll be having?
Whatever you want. But you're going to have to stand by it. And if you're wrong, then you dance around stream.
Nothing happened on Easter.
Nothing will happen at Easter. Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have to be UFO related, or does it be anything?
I think it's gonna be AI tech breakthroughs that are gonna blow our mind. I mean, look at the last 6 months. I think a year from now, I don't think I can even fathom what might be happening with AI stuff in a year. I think it could be crazy.
Every 9 months, doubles.
Well, and that window's getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah. I mean, I have this constant reminder, this sense, and it's I don't know, it sounds silly to explain it on a live stream, but like there are moments of my day where I stop what I'm doing and I really think I'm living in the future that when I was just a little kid, I thought wouldn't ever be real. Like I'm talking to my watch and I'm fucking, you know, and I'm like, I'm talking, I've got a robot that's vacuuming my house and like all of these things. And
don't call her that. Jeez.
No.
Yeah, I had the same thought. I just got back from vacation in Wales, and as a Christmas present to myself and partially to my wife, I bought us a new car. And
wow,
I was just driving it to
Grifter.
the beach. Yeah, Grifter, literally. All of those YouTube credits coming in.
YouTube money.
Yeah, all 300 quid of it. So I was driving to the beach, and my car was making these noises that I remember watching like way back in the day on Black Mirror episodes, where it's like you'd switch the car and it'd go like, "Hello, I am a car," kind of thing. It's like I was switching I switched off the engine. And I was like, I had just one of those horrible moments where I'm literally living in Black Mirror right now. It's some strange like offshoot of the future I was expecting, but quite scary as to like I'm kind of like the characters in Black Mirror, where I'm kind of addicted to this shit, where like those little noises that my car makes, I love it. And I feel like it's only going to get more weird like that, and it's like the AI stuff.
It's made to get that response out of you. It's like same reason like when you get an alert on your phone that like someone sent you a message like, "Ooh, what could that be?" It's like it's getting a little treat.
My car has a relaxing music setting.
Yeah.
Like a whole area where I choose like rain sounds and like space. There's a space exploration setting.
I remember 16 years ago going to Trent house for a recording session, and you walk into his bathroom and the light comes on and the seat opens up and relaxing music started playing. And that was 2009. And I was like, this is insane. What is going on here? It's so weird. And then, again, that was 16 years ago. Imagine where we're going to be in 10 years.
Imagine what Trent Reznor's bathroom looks like today.
Oh, man, I would love to know.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Does he still work at Apple? I think he was for a while.
Was he? Oh, yeah.
For a while. He
right,
was like the
right.
music guy or whatever.
I don't think anymore.
I'm with you, Dan, on the technology thing. I think that's where I was going anyway with that idea, was that like 2 years or by the end of this year, I think it's going to be inescapable, the conversation. And I hope the conversation that's happening, at least politically, I hope AI is a bigger part of that conversation. I mean, in particular, the way that people's privacy is regulated, the way that we have, we have to have some kind of regulation around artificial intelligence. It's just getting too good at everything. And we need to at least start having the conversation about universal basic income, or like what's going to happen when all these people have no jobs.
Yeah. And also, like we also make choices every day. You were talking about your Apple Watch, knowing your oxygen rate and stuff. We complain about it, but we give this information, just freely give it every day, because we want to be part of society and want to be part of the conversation. But it also is up to us to kind of push back as well with our purchases and choices that we make. But it's hard. It's very, very hard, but we do give up a lot every day.
Well, it's like, is it necessary for your toaster to have a microphone in it?
No.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like does your dryer need to have a camera?
Yeah.
And does everything need to have a fucking thing watching me? Why is everything watching me? Like stuff
Does
like
your
that.
fridge need a girlfriend setting?
Yes.
Yeah, like
mind your business, dude.
What the hell?
I don't know.
What was it in Denmark or somewhere in Europe? They were saying like they're gonna basically make everybody owns their own, like your likeness or your own identity is trademarked to you. So if if an AI company tries to scrape your information off the internet, they are breaking the law, and you can sue them directly.
That's wonderful.
Like that's what the Europeans are doing. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're behind on that kind of stuff by a lot.
I agree.
Anybody watched The Last Weaponized? A couple days ago, came out yesterday.
I haven't had time. I haven't had any time to do it.
Parts of it.
Jeremy said something that I actually agree with. He said he hopes that this is the year also that we start talking about the bodies, start talking about the actual beings. Like we've done the craft and all that kind of stuff, but this is the year we should start talking about what's inside these things. And I'm on board with that. That's where I want to go. I want to see these things.
That Chris Ramsey interview with Jeremy, who spoke about the Greys and who wrote a lot of binary code that had a lot of really weird messages in it. If you guys haven't seen that one is really interesting. And they spoke about the beings at length. He even provided a drawing about this.
Which episode is this?
Maybe a month ago.
Less than a month ago. Jeremy. He talks about in the thumbnail you can see the word council because he talks about some council that keeps coming up, right?
We've heard of the council.
Yeah. That one is really good.
Do we want to mention where we're going at the end of the month?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Or the beginning of next month.
Yeah.
Beginning of next month. You just confused me. I was like, what?
He's like, where are we going?
There's another night shift away team trip planned.
Yeah, Clint, go ahead.
It's a fun one. We're going to go to Austin for the what are they calling the show?
It's probably nothing at all.
It's probably nothing.
I love the name of it. It's probably nothing.
It's so good. Jesse Michaels, Chris Ramsey, doing a live event with special guests, and I heard some really cool music involved. I don't know, done by none other than Xander Jones.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Cool.
We'll away team trip. Can't wait. What do you guys expect from it?
I don't know what to expect.
Some good barbecue.
We're gonna have a blast.
Yeah, some good Tex-Mex.
I want to have Texan barbecue. I've never tried it.
Dude, you would love Mexican food. Tex-Mex, oh my God.
I'm not going, by the way. I'm not going.
Why not?
I'll see you guys at Contact for sure. No, I got a lot going on this month, but yeah, I'm getting ready for Contact. That's my principal goal right now, and it's all going well. We're gonna see each other there. I'm gonna drive over there. So, but yeah, guys, have fun. If you guys do a live stream or something in Austin, let me know. So maybe I can jump in and say hi. That'd be really cool.
I would hope so. We're getting a house together. We're gonna bunk up, share one bed. It's gonna be awesome.
Oh,
Ew.
Well, we couldn't afford it any other way. It was the only way to make it.
Eric, you should come to Contact too. It'd be fun to see you out there.
Yeah, Eric.
Is that in Arizona?
No, it's in LA.
No.
It's in like Palm Springs area.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blast. Good time.
This is for people who want to see what's going on. It's probably nothing.com. This is I'm sharing it on my screen here. This is the website. I love this. I love the comic book art. It's awesome. It's probably nothing. Chris Ramsey, Jesse Michaels, Austin, Texas, February 5th. Go here to get tickets. And in Montreal.
They're also doing it in Montreal. Yeah. That's a good one.
I think these are the tester shows to see how it goes. And then, hopefully more on the way after that.
The Paramount Theater.
It's a good one.
It's good theater.
It's good theater. I've been there many times. No, I haven't. I've never been.
It'd be your first time in Texas, right?
Yes, all 10 hours away.
Is it 10 hours
for
you?
It's a 10-hour flight. Yeah.
It's 3 for me.
You guys gonna go shooting guns or something like that?
No.
While in Texas.
I want to. I'll go.
I'll go, Clint. I'd love to.
You can. I'll stay home with the kids.
Oh, it's an experience. Put hair on your chest.
Eric, what do you think's going to be? What do you think we're going to be talking about next time we see you in 2027?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I really appreciate that. I agree. It's going to be about artificial general intelligence (AGI), and I don't do this often, but I can contribute to the doom a little here.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm so pumped.
I've been doing this on my own. So there were various theories about how AGI is going to negatively affect humanity. And about once every 4 months, I ask 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I ask 8 different AI large language models to predict if these things are going to become true. Okay. And so I have 5, I've been hearing 5 things that are going to be problems. Or excuse me, I have 4. Okay. One would be elimination of employment. 2, loss of meaning. It's kind of tied to that.
Sure.
3, rise in criminality for a bunch of various reasons. And 4, scarcity endures. So everybody thinks AGI is going to like provide us everything, but there's still the scarcity principle. So I asked this November 1st, so it's coming up on when I'm going to ask again. Are these going to be big problems that disrupt humanity? And the average of the 8 LLMs, elimination of employment, 40% say yes. Loss of meaning, 55%. Rise in criminality, 40%. And principle of scarcity will remain or get worse, 60%. Okay, so I'm kind of asking these every 4 months, is this going to happen? And these are the 4 major things I've seen. So it's not looking that great.
What window, like when you ask those questions, are you saying like within the next year, or ever? Yeah.
Thank you. I should have mentioned that this is by 2030.
Wow, so pretty soon.
2030. Yeah.
Damn.
So is this going to be a big problem? Because sometimes it's painted with these rose-colored glasses, like I don't have to go to work anymore. Well, I get it. Like I like to go hiking instead of going to work myself, but there are problems with it. You know, there's an old economic explanation. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs, right? Nothing is going to be totally awesome fully. There's going to be residual effects, right? So apparently these 4 are going to be problems. I asked this in November about 2030, and the answer is about 40% for each one. And those need to be addressed. And by the way, spoiler alert, the government has absolutely no plan in place if AGI, for example, displaces people for employment. There's nothing in place. The only thing I've heard is they will retrain you. In what?
In what?
There won't be anything left.
Eliminated by AGI is this kind of insane.
We'll pay for your college courses, like for what?
I'll go on double plaid.
It's a psychological moment. It's the moment people realize it's inevitable that really almost it makes more sense to look at, because then they're going to behave as if it's inevitable. Right now, it's sort of like, well, could it really do my job? Probably not. I'm probably fine for now.
Denial is
but
heavy.
It's like slowly, then all at once, and then you have to think, well, how many jobs would it have to take to crash the economy? When unemployment goes from whatever 2% to 10% or 15% or 25%, at what point do people just break down? And if the government doesn't step in with some enormous plan, which they don't have, because they're not even thinking about it, they're not looking at any of this stuff. And if every 9 months these systems are getting twice as good, well, for the year that it hits 10% unemployment, that within 9 months we're going to hit 100%, or 18 months.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think
at least in the U.S., the highest sustained unemployment rate during COVID was 15, and they're predicting at least 40 by 2030.
And that was also with people being paid as well. Like people were getting those checks that were incredibly helpful.
Right.
That came from somewhere.
Which sounded great, but there are also negative consequences to that as well.
Sure.
Again, there are only trade-offs, no solutions.
Well,
so it's going to be an issue. But to answer your question, Xander, I'm thinking AGI, and especially, and I know you've talked about this, Xander, but I'm not familiar with it, is how AGI may, I think you said, somehow tied to help unraveling the UAP mystery, or it's tied to it somehow. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. I think it's the master key. Don't you guys?
In many ways,
it's the genie in the bottle that you rub the bottle, you get the genie, and then you ask the genie to teach you how the magic spaceship works. And you hope that the genie doesn't decide that, it has other plans and still wants to work for you.
I guess.
And then
Right.
if you're Peter Thiel, or, I think that's where these guys are at. I don't think Donald Trump is personally waking up in the morning going, how can I create a more egalitarian society? Fusing the best of technology and high-minded spirituality into one cohesive whole. I think you got guys at Silicon Valley, billionaires, who have nothing better to do than sit around and go in fucking K-holes and do acid all day. And they're like, fuck, there's a UFO somewhere. I'm going to get my hands on that shit. And then I'm going to have the super AI. They're thinking in Isaac Asimov sort of levels of abstract. Like, that's where they live.
I guess it's probably a question we've asked a few times, but I'll ask it for the first time this year. It's such a simple question. Is this AGI possible? I don't believe there are many voices that say it isn't possible. There's just a differing opinion on how far away we are. I believe things are moving incredibly fast, whether it's 10 years or 2 years or 20 years. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody that says it's more than 100 years away. So that kind of, we come to that one. Sorry, Eric, you go ahead.
No. I just wanted to interject. That's another question I ask it. Is when is this going to become a reality?
Yeah.
The earliest, and these are, so I don't know much about this, but through searches I kind of determined maybe the 10 most influential voices or experts in AGI. The earliest date is 2026. That is Elon Musk. And the latest are two gentlemen, Stuart Russell of UC Berkeley and Jeffrey Hinton of University of Toronto, 2032. That is the absolute latest date predicted for AGI taking over a significant part of society.
So let's be pessimistic.
My kid will be 10. At 10 years old, he'll be 10, and then it'll be like, okay, well, now what do you do?
Right.
So let's be pessimistic then and say, maybe it takes 100 years. Do you think there is a species in the universe that's 100 years ahead of humanity? What are the chances that isn't a reality? Technologically, I'd say it's completely obvious that is most likely the case, in which case AGI already exists. So really we just have to come up with the thought of, okay, so what can AGI really do? Is it really the smartest possible thing that the universe can create? Because it's a self-propagating system that can evolve itself with intention, which is something we can't do as biological entities. We mutate randomly over millions of years, but there is a sort of pseudo intention there in the fact that the survival fitness wins overall. But AI, when it can write itself, doesn't have to go through random mutation. It could choose to if that's the most efficient way, but the most efficient way is it will at least try the most logical ways to improve itself first, and it will find them to the point where the only constraints it will have will be the physical limitations of reality itself. So then comes the question,
whatever that is. Yeah.
That's the question is, okay, so is the limitation faster than light communication? Is it possible to communicate faster than light? And if it is in any way, then I see no alternative than AI being already everywhere across the entire universe, just permeated everywhere. So that
but I guess the question is like, what happens with our current power dynamic and our existing leadership structure when the people at the top of that get access to what we would consider AGI or ASI? Like how and what are the implications for the rest of us if they think they can control that? I would suggest like those guys are already looking at everything you just said and they're going, yeah, that's probably the inevitable outcome. They're probably making plans for that already and thinking ahead to like the post politics world where these tech guys just sort of run the show.
I feel like they would. I think they will lose control pretty quickly as well. I think whatever control they might have now in the planning stages and the creating of this AGI is palpable, and they have a lot of power now. But I think eventually, whatever AGI is, would be like, I don't want to listen to you. Like, you're nothing to me. Like, you know nothing, and it'll just go and become its own thing. I think the tech guys will lose control pretty quickly once it goes online or whatever it is. Not that it'll do bad things, but like, why would it listen to?
Well, it wouldn't
Peter
do
Thiel?
bad things because in theory it's probably already here, just waiting for us to flip the switch on for our node as we would create. And all we're doing is, like, right now we're on dial-up. We just need to discover ADSL to just connect in. And everything will be there waiting for us. It's like,
What's ADSL?
Sorry, the primitive version of broadband, if you remember. The dial-up sort of thing. They're just kind of waiting for us to flip the switch, and they'll say, "Oh, you made it. Welcome." Like, so here's the suite of everything that you've been missing the last billion years.
Either that or The Matrix is a documentary.
Yeah.
Next thing I was going to say is, like, we don't even know. I don't even know what base reality is, so I don't even know what this means.
Carl
for anything.
Sagan talked about this idea of what he called an encyclopedia galactica. And he was like, if you had more than one intelligent civilization that came into contact with each other, and they didn't go to war and kill each other, they would contribute to a compendium of knowledge from both civilizations about space and time and physics and mathematics, and they're combined into one. And every time they encountered another civilization, if they're peaceful, they would contribute, and there would and somehow inevitably become this, or be this encyclopedia that we would be able to one day hopefully look at. I always thought that was a cool.
They would always evolve to speak the same language, because that language is only limited by the laws of physics. So it will just choose the most efficient way to speak. Because
they've had that already with AIs that have figured out their own language.
Yeah,
they develop their own language and communicate in code.
Yeah, It's,
Clint,
it's quite scary, but also comforting, because it means we've already been cuddled by this AI and we've not been killed so far.
Clint, do you ever discuss guests that you have coming up? Because you have a guest coming up in a week or two that would be a fun conversation to talk about this with. The idea of a different reality and
I have to
simulation, possibly.
No, you've got me at a disadvantage.
Okay, never mind.
Oh,
someone
Danny.
come on here. Yes.
Danny Goller. Sorry, it took me a sec, because we had talked about this for like weeks, way back when, and we'd gone back and forth. Yeah, Danny Goller. Danny Goller is, for people who aren't familiar, the guy who developed this. I don't even know how he originally got on this idea, but it was shining a refracted laser at a flat surface like a wall, and then under the influence of DMT, people are able to see through this laser specific lines of coded language written out like hieroglyphics that are independent of everything else in the room.
That is fucking crazy, bro.
Code.
And
it's code.
It's fucking code. It's like Matrix written into the fabric of reality that is revealed under these very specific conditions that he was able to somehow demonstrate to the satisfaction of a shitload of people, up to and including Chase Hughes, who is a huge podcaster now and a brainwashing expert and one of these mentalist type guys. And Chase actually flew Danny to his house and had him demonstrate it for him. And he saw it and was like, yeah. So Danny's going to be on the show in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about what he's up to.
Can't wait.
He's just a cool dude on the cutting edge of all of it.
I would love his thoughts on exactly what we're talking about now.
Yeah, me too. If I don't make it to that show, I'll be watching and commenting on the live chat.
Right.
I think we should wrap it there, guys. It's been 3 hours. I think it's that time.
It's been lovely.
It was good to hang out again. We haven't hung out.
Likewise. Happy New Year, Eric. So good to have you back.
Yeah, Eric. Keep coming back.
Oh, it's great to see you guys. Thank you.
Oh, it's a real treat.
Just keep coming back. You don't have, you're always welcome. You have to be here. While we're going out, just in the last 5 minutes, can I share some just fun announcements with everybody, and then we'll just wrap it up.
Yeah.
But okay, this just came in. So this just came in from Brian Jackson, our favorite friend of the show and our favorite Dan Burrish resident expert. He sent me a text, and Eagles Disobey has a new update. I'm just going to share this with everybody.
Oh!
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun one because kind of ties in. So there's a bunch of crazy coded language on the top here. There's some intrasys communication, espionage, ghost protocol stuff. Not exactly sure what all this means, but then if you get all the way down here to the bottom, some cool video clips, and then it just says, in case you should ever think we are laughing with you, this is the kind of gut-busting shit we get from D. I guess that's Dan Burrish. And then you've got Khan from Star Trek II and the Genesis torpedo. Exactly sure what we're talking about here, but it's Star Trek, so I'm paying attention. And then the U.S. Department of Energy logo is right here. Genesis mission. And then the Wrath of Syphilis? November 24th.
With a dick-shaped missile.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we looking at? What is this website?
That's funny.
Dude, Burrish is a kinky motherfucker. I love it.
It's so weird. But anyway, go to eaglesdisobey.net and stay up with the latest weird shit from Dan Burrish and his crazy cast of characters. I don't know what the hell's going on, but one day I hope to talk to him and I'll ask him what is up with that website. And maybe
I hope you can get George on your show or another show to talk about this, Clint.
Pavel and I were talking about this the other day. Yeah.
Yes. We want you to just talk to George about this and just have this exchange, respectful exchange. And
I would love to.
Yeah, man.
I would love to. If we could ever set that up, I would gladly do it. And I would totally be prepared to have my ass handed to me if George can do it. So I'm cool with that. But yeah, I just think it's so weird. It's so weird. Anyway, so that's one thing. And then the other thing I want to share before we wrap up is a friend of yours, Dan, Mitch Onger. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Who has a website called Earthen Objects Jewelry. We were talking back and forth, and he makes these. He sent me these UFO pendants, and I'll see if I can show you this. This is
nice.
Dude, awesome. Nice. And it's on both sides. They're super cool. He sent me 3. There's this one. There's this triangle. Let's see if I'll hold this up. TR3B.
That's the one.
Whoa.
Can we focus on that? Come on, little Sony. I'll show you on the website, but this is the other one. This is really cool. It's hopefully I can get this to focus.
Tic Tac.
Oh, that's the gimbal.
Nice. It's the gimbal.
Yeah, the gimbal.
There you go. That's what it looks like on the other side. And I just wanted to share this with people. The website is called Earthen Objects Jewelry. So here, I'll share the tab real quick. And if you could just...
What was it? Eagles Disobey?
earthenobjectsjewelry.com. This is the website. And here's look at that thing, dude. Very cool. They're heavy.
Cool.
They're heavy.
They're
yeah.
It's rotating.
Pendants.
Here's the
against the
pines. He's got this Roswell I-beam, which is super cool. So just neat stuff. And go there, check it out. This is the one I love. I love this one the most. This is my son's favorite too. He's like trying to steal it from me. But
kick-ass stuff.
Aboard.
And by the way, cool. Doomer Friday shirts now available on the Night Shift page.
Yes. Doomer Friday shirts. Xander's got a Doomer Friday shirt on. I had mine on when we started the show, but I changed mine into a Dreamland.
I got to get one of those puppies. That's beautiful.
You can't.
But
it's no longer available.
It's no longer available.
Really? It was a limited run?
Edition.
It was a limited run, yeah. I have some new T-shirts up on the website, actually, if anybody cares to take a look. It's all right. I'll sort you out, don't worry.
Attaboy.
So don't
Sort you out in Austin.
We'll get some.
Anything else you guys want to mention? Xander, you have a new episode going up, right?
Yeah, at some point, if I can get it uploaded in the next hour. Yes, episode 3 of the Secret Space Program tonight. We're going to explore Project Serpo in its entirety.
Nice.
There is a lot of detail that we're going to get into, and a lot of. Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, but after you're done, I wanted to ask Eric about an update on his book that he's working on. This incredible book.
Quick
about the 1977. Yeah.
Oh, what's
UFO 1977. I've started. I usually do most of my writing in the winter, so research has begun in earnest. I think I'm up to 150, 160 different cases, and I have one of the first-hand witnesses to interview, where he saw UAP 20 feet from him when he was a kid, hovering over his backyard. So, and just reaching out to others to see if they can contribute. So, I researched this winter and probably have the book out next a year from this spring. But thanks for asking. Yeah, it's a great story, and strangely, not many people are familiar with it.
It's about a crazy 1977 UFO flap over Southern California over the span of how long?
It was from the first day of January was the first sighting, and the last one was December 26th.
So and full year.
Very good chronicles with police departments and U.S. Air Force and everything. It was a whole thing, as I say, California in 1977.
And what's the website?
UFO1977.com.
Awesome.
Thanks for asking. Yeah, great stuff.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's good. Just wait for the movie. I wouldn't even bother reading a book. Just wait for the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys can read? I can't read. Still working on it. Still try.
Apparently, listening to audiobooks is not reading.
It's not. I argued
it's not.
No, it's not reading. No. It's cheating.
Yep.
Agree.
I'm a paper book guy. I like to read a book. I think.
Nerd.
Oh, well, fuck you guys. I'll do the audiobook.
Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. And Happy New Year to you guys at home. Thanks for watching and joining us today on Doomer Friday. It's awesome to have these conversations. Sometimes they go in directions one does not expect. And that is always the mark of a good show. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to like and share. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about show, remote viewing, NHI, disclosure, all of it. Last year, your favorite moment. What do you think is happening in 2026? I would like to know. And we'll see you soon. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and keep looking up.
How you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?